I said it on Friday. He's faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and now he's got a playoff road win. And how about the comeback kids? They're at it again. The Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. Cause it's all we're gonna do. And Boy Green is always on the scene. And what you're always bringing to life, singing. So get ready. Get ready, cause here they come.
All right, playoff football underway, my friends. 5 in the books and 1 to go tonight in Pittsburgh, the Steel City. You see me, baby, for my Steel City paraphernalia today. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans, 2 teams over the years known for their defenses. Let's see if they get after it here in the Steel City at Acrisure Stadium right there on the riverfront of Pittsburgh. Great stadium. Welcome aboard to the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. We welcome you all and also entice you to become a subscriber if you're not already, because we are growing our small community closer and closer and closer to more than to over 500 over 500 subscribers. And when we get to 475, we're only 16 away from 475. Bobbleheads going out the door out of the Manchild's personal collection. Here's one of them, Champ Kind from Anchorman. There he is, Champ. Look at him, the sports guy. His head's still bobbling beautifully. All right, a set of 4 bobbleheads. We'll show the video a little bit later. We have a little video that I created that has all 4 of the bobbleheads. I'm sorry I don't have Ron Burgundy. You'll have to go find him yourself, but it's still a really cool collection, something cool to put on your mantle or your desk, and, it's definitely a talk piece. So I've had them for many years, and I'm going to jettison them off to somebody who can use them. They've just been sitting in a box for me, so you might as well get them somewhere. I don't have enough space on my desk and my walls these days, so I might as well let some other people enjoy it. So when we get to 475, we will draw randomly a winner. All you have to do is be a subscriber, and you see the link right there, youtube.com/@MCShowDigital. And we're just a couple minutes away from announcing our winner. We have this morning, right before we hit the airwaves, drawn a winner for the Jets program, the 1972 program
that is
that
correct.
Green has in beautiful plastic, has John Riggins and Joe Namath on the cover, and we have selected a winner. Boy Green has contacted the winner, and we will hopefully have some contact with the winner directly here on our airwaves in just a little bit. So winner has been announced, but the giveaways keep on going, baby. 475 bobbleheads. We've got the golf club going out at 500, and we'll just keep it rolling as long as you keep helping us grow our little community here online. Well, good morning, everybody. Fantastic day to be talking about the NFL playoffs. It starts, Boy Green, with the Buffalo Bills. I told you, Josh Allen, he's going to have to be Superman 3 weeks in a row to get this team to the Super Bowl. And he was in this one. 3 touchdowns, 2 of them running. The guy is like nicked up, banged up. He's walking on one leg. He's all over the darn place, Boy Green. But, man, he got the job done for the Bills. Fantastic win for Buffalo on the road against the Jags.
Yeah, as an AFC East guy, screwed the Buffalo Bills. I was rooting for the Jacksonville Jaguars pretty hard there. I'm not going to lie, but
wrong the old picks, Boy Green. I got you.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I'm human. I like to show that every once in a while. So no, I was absolutely rooting for Jacksonville, but there was all kinds of drama in that game. Good for Buffalo. Now they're going to New England with New England winning. So hey, we're getting a three-peat of that matchup in the AFC. So. The only problem as a Jets fan is that means one of those teams are going to have to win and go to the AFC Championship game. So that part's sort of disgusting. But, hey, you know what? I think, and I have it in the headline going out on my YouTube channel, was this the best Super Wildcard Weekend ever? I mean, the games were electric. They were coming down to the last second for the most part outside of that Patriots-Chargers game. But that had its own interesting levels of drama. Of going for it on 4th downs and variety of key situations. But, man, I just love that the game, as a neutral guy, because my team isn't playing, the neutral thing is I wanted great games, and I felt like that's exactly what we got.
Well, Boy Green, there's one reason for you to root for the Buffalo Bills. Come on, man. The thicker kicker kicks for the Bills. And, man, he was
he doesn't.
between the uprights.
That's Rams. You got to – it's Rams.
I'm messing with you. So what do you think about the thicker kicker getting it done? You guys had him in camp. You let him go. You happy with Nick Folk? This guy's a little bit younger, a little bit chunkier. I kind of like him.
Okay. Yeah, one guy can't put the fork down. Another guy has barely missed any kicks this year. So I'm all for Nick Folk. We made the right choice. Good for them that they got Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, Mevis Island. He could eat an island. Good for him. He's over there. I don't care. That's totally copacetic. So good for him on that side. Lurch, I know we're about to dive in deep into the playoff talk and everything else, but let's not wait any longer. Let's bring in another fellow content creator in the universe, and it just so happened to work out this week.
Very nice.
Yeah, very much so. This guy is an absolute stud. I was proudly his very first subscriber when he created his YouTube channel. I was number one. He has a plaque somewhere. He can show it off of me being a numero uno.
Yes, first subscriber, Paul A. S.
Yeah, right. And then every time someone comes to his house, he invites him over, and it's a conversation piece. He points to it. He talks about it. And now he's blown up. Now he's got well over 1,000 subscribers. He's on the chase to 2,000 subscribers, and he does marvelous work. So I'm not surprised with his growth. But it so happened to work out. We're doing all these free giveaways before these shows, Lurch. We're doing, once we reach a mile markers, 400, 425, 450. All right, let's reach our name into the pot of all the potential subscribers and whoop, pull it out, and boom, it just so happened. And we're about to bring him on the show, and I'll show him this prize that's about to be mailed to his house this week. It is the one and only Dylan Terriman, DT, baby.
Dylan?
Joining us here on the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. And Dylan, I'll show it to you. Brighter times for the Jets. Let me go full screen here so we can see this puppy. This will soon be in your hands. The 1972 official New York Jets yearbook cover with a couple of Jets Hall of Famers, Joe Namath, John Riggins, baby. It's spectacular. It's real, and that will be in a nice case that's kept it, pristine condition, which is terrific. So that will soon be in your hands. You can put it next to that, hey, Boy Green was my first subscriber ever plaque. So you can put it right next to that one, Dylan. Congratulations, pal.
I just plucked this off my background. I got a John Riggins card earlier this summer, so that is very fitting, and I will find a place in the background for it. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you guys having me, and that's awesome. I'm so excited.
Great that it went to a Jets guy. I love that. What's also cool, and I said this, Dylan, and I think it's actually very doable. I mean, I've talked about this before on the air, so I'll do the super short version of the story. But I had gotten a Super Bowl ball from the Giants Patriots Super Bowl. What was it, 2007, Boy Green? Is that the 7?
That was the first one,
Right, yeah. The undefeated Patriots,
Yep.
undefeated, and of course we knocked them off. Fantastic. And David Tyree made that incredible catch. And because we're located in Syracuse, New York, I knew that I could get David Tyree's autograph on this ball. The harder autograph was going to be to get Eli Manning. And then one Christmas, Paul managed to kidnap that ball out of my basement, which was just in a box down there. And he got both guys to autograph it in the same day and then had it sent to me, which was awesome, or handed to me actually during our Christmas show on the radio. So very, very cool. I think with this program, it'd be worth efforting. It may take a little while, but it'd be worth efforting. I mean, Namath is still around and he's, you can get him. All right. And Riggins is still around and you can get him. I would try to get the two of those guys autograph that thing. You get the autographs on that thing and that thing suddenly becomes worth a lot more. And it just becomes a really cool collector's item for a Jets fan. Not that it isn't cool on its own, but I think you get the autographs on it and now it becomes ultra cool.
Absolutely. And as you see in the background, I am a fan of collectible items with autographs on it. Here we have Black Sabbath's original album, Sabbath, with obviously Ozzy, Geezer, Tony, and Bill Ward's signature. So, yeah, I'm always a fan of that. And funny story, if I could, about Eli Manning. My high school has a cross Delaware River rival, Phillipsburg versus Easton. And they did what was called a replay game where they had all the old heads from the original game come in and play a new game in like their 40s and 50s, and they turned it into a flag game. But Peyton and Eli were the respective coaches for either side, and they came to my high school and everything. So it was a really cool, to be like up close with the Manning brothers. That was a really cool experience in like the early 2010s. So that was really cool.
And also, obviously, the value of the program has increased. It touched my hands, Dylan. So, obviously that could only have helped the value naturally here.
Yes.
With it all. And again, I want to highlight this. I mentioned Dylan Terriman as a content creator. Here's a sneak peek at his YouTube channel. You can see it there at Dylan Terriman, DT, 1.32 thousand subscribers, for goodness sake. I mean, he's had rocket fuel attached to his draft stock here. It's absolutely plummeted. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. He actually has merch. I don't know about the merch or how that's going for you guys purchasing merch out there in the audience. But DT, congratulations on getting the program, man. And obviously, you've had continued success. So you've been killing it in the content creator game, my friend.
I certainly appreciate that, Paul, and it's long overdue for me to have you on the pod and reciprocating that. So as long as I can do that for you, that's awesome. And I had some time off work today, and you hit me up, and I was like, this is perfect. I love coming on and talking with you. But yeah, it's been, I guess, a meteoric rise for your boy since May when I started the channel, separating myself from Jet Nation and going out on my own, taking the risk, and it's worked out well. Everybody, 1,300 subscribers since May. I'm super appreciative. I'm fully monetized on the channel, so I can't say enough great things about the football community. And as you can see by the header there, I'm transitioning more to a draft specific lens, focusing on the Jets, but it's hard to just only talk about the Jets because we always have draft picks and capital to use for the future. So you have to have that draft element in as well. So I'm really hoping a full off season with the channel will really bring more attention to the channel as well.
And with that being said, you mentioned that you're now fully monetized. For people who don't know, breaking the fourth wall, that's 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, plus a lot of other things behind the scenes that people don't know about. And yes, for this channel specifically, we're streaming live on the Boy Green channels as well, but we're also streaming live on that channel right beneath all of our handsome mugs. That's youtube.com/@MCShowDigital. We're on the precipice of the first level of monetization in YouTube land, which is 500 subscribers. We're only 40 some odd away, so we'll see how quickly we're able to get there and then try to catch up to DT. We're catching his tail, and if he looks in the rear view mirror, he may see there's a 40-yard dash. It may be being timed with a sundial, but there is a dash happening back there, for goodness sake. So Dylan, you're inspiring all of us, so great work, my friend.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. It's all friendly competition, right? I have some people in my focus that I'm, focusing on, like, hey, they have like 2,000 subscribers. There's a couple content creators, and I'm just, it's all friendly competition, right? We're not out here to put anybody down. So the most I can do is help everybody, get exposure. And if I can help with that with my 1,300 subs, then I'm more than willing to do that.
Yeah, let me do a quick follow-up there.
One of the cool things before you jump in, Paul, is this world. See, Paul and I, especially me, Paul's been in the YouTube world for a while, but I come from 30 years of radio background, and television before that. And it's so different when, a product is just being put out there and the radio station or the TV station does all the promoting and you just kind of show up and the audience is there, in this YouTube world, you got to earn every one of them. And so it's definitely been a humbling experience. I mean, we launched our channel in July in earnest. So we've been around about 6 months. We're approaching 500 subscribers where we can start to do some fun interactive stuff, as with your viewers, which I think is awesome. So already planning that and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on, but it's really cool to build a community this way. And for somebody who's been in the biz 30 years, it's pretty cool to do it in this grassroots level and know that you earn every one of those subscribers. And then once you have them, then it's your job to put out the kind of content that keeps them. And I think that that's part of the everyday challenge too. You don't take anything for granted. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah,
100%. And I know you wanted to follow up, Paul, but where I came from with Jet Nation, that was a similar mindset, right? I took on a volunteer position writing, and they had a large following already. They're one of the longest Jets content sites. They have their own website and forum and everything. So I started for free as a writer and then slowly upgraded to a podcaster weekly for them. And then this off season, I said, you know what, I got to take that leap of faith, trust in myself to, stand 10 toes down on my analysis of the team and go out and on my own. And it's been, it's been great. And I have no bad words to say about Jet Nation, but I don't regret the decision at all. So anybody who's scared to take that jump, just go do it, right? It's okay if your videos get 10 views for the first 3-4 months of the channel, right? It's all about that steady growth. You continue to believe in your product, consistency, daily videos, like three videos a week, and you'll get there. So anybody who thinks that they can't make that jump, you're wrong. You certainly can.
Yeah, that would also be my advice. This isn't what I was going to say for the other part. I'll get to that in a second. But this would be my advice: is whether it's 10 views or a million.
Mhm.
I never knew how many people watch at a certain time. Now we all know because I could literally see a ticker as we're doing this live. How many people are literally watching at this moment in time? But back in the day when I first started this YouTube channel, I had no idea. So I tried to deliver the same product I would for a million people I would for 5, because I never know when someone's watching me for the first time. All right, who the hell is Dylan Terriman? All right, here's my Dylan Terriman experience for the first time. And if you have a bad day at the office, you're like, who cares? My mom and 3 people are watching me, so I'm going to give a half bleep effort. Like that person that just saw you for the first time is like, oh, screw this guy. This guy stinks. So like you always have to be operating at $100 for me. And that's what the advice I would always send out to the people in the audience for sure. But no, the thing I was going to follow up on quickly, Don, is you mentioned that, sure, there may be people in your rearview mirror, but you have your eyes set forward of other, things you're trying to reach. And, at the end of like a UFC fight, Joe Rogan gets in the octagon. He's like, wow, you just knocked that guy out. This is incredible. But who's next? Is there a fighter you want to call out after this fight? So, Dylan, I was going to give you a chance to start calling some people out. Who's some YouTube channels you're hunting down? You're like, it's wabbit season. You're hunting wabbits. Who's some of these wabbits that you're hunting, Dylan Terriman?
Yeah, 100%. And again, this is not, a negative thing about these people. That's just the barometer of where I put myself. And the 2 Jets specific content creators, I did a show with one last night, Nick Shine, at the Nick Shine show. Shout out to all the Shiners in the chat. He just hit 2,000 subscribers last night. So I'm very much looking forward to competing with him. Maybe we're on a race to 5,000. And then the other person, and I love this kid's work, Connor Long from Jets X Factor. And I'm blanking on the full name of his NY Jets Flight Talk. Thank you.
There you go.
So him, I mean, he's a 14-year-old and he's absolutely crushing the game right now. And he's got like 2,200. So I would say that those are the ones that I'm looking at right in front of me. And then you go a little bit further and it's like the Buffalo Jet fans of the world with 13,000 subscribers who I love. And I'll do a show later on tonight with him. So there's incremental progress to this whole process. And I'm not down on myself for not being up there with those guys, but it gives me something to strive for. And like you said, you have to do your videos, not in a homeristic type of way, but I always try to do my videos as if somebody in the Jets facility was watching my content. Could they take anything from that to help better this product on the field? Because right now the product has not been great. So I'm not trying to be a homer or too optimistic with my green colored goggles, but I always just try to provide solutions and alternatives to how we can turn this thing around and get that big ship turning a little bit faster.
So Connor, Nick, he's coming for you, buddy boys. He's coming for you. And I love this super chat coming in from Johnny Boy.
Competition is always good.
Look at this Johnny Boy jumping in. Oh, snap. DT, BG, Manchild, or MC. Let's keep it all our little nicknames here. There you go. We're all here on the same channel. So I wanted to start off the show with this. Again, we drew it off air. Dylan won, and I was like, oh man, this would be cool just to have it. And then Manchild was like, hey, you want to get him on? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. I have no idea what the hell he's doing on a Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning, but I'll find out. And so awesome. So Dylan, I want to thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Again, congratulations on winning the program, the success, of course, of the channel, obviously here, which you're killing it. And you have people in your sights you're going to beat up. So nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jim, I don't know your shirt size. Maybe we'll have to talk offline, me, you, and Paul, but we'll have to get you a DT shirt as well. I know Paul's got his merch because I'm still trying to communicate with Mr. YouTube, trying to get that golden plaque that says Boy Green first subscriber on the wall. Right. So nice. We'll have to hook you up with some merch too. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. And like I said, I can't recommend it enough for anybody who wants to break into the space. Don't worry about the views, just worry about what the content is that you're putting out. And if people believe in your product, people will flock to you.
Build it and they will come, as they say, right? Thanks, Dylan. Awesome talking to you. Congrats on the win. Fantastic. I love that randomly you ended up being our guy. That makes it even cooler. And thanks for your support of our channel. And we certainly will do everything on our side to support your channel as well.
Of course. I appreciate it, Jim and Paul. Keep crushing it. You guys are awesome. And I love tuning in. So let's keep it going. We hope for better things for both the Giants and the Jets in 2026. There's reasons to be optimistic, right? The potential of John Harbaugh in New York for the Giants, and the Jets have all this premium draft capital and $112 million in cap space. So we could turn it around quick in the Meadowlands, and let's see what happens.
We'll see you guys in the Super Bowl, baby.
You're thinking that. All right. How about you just get to over 500 maybe? So start someone there. Thanks, Dylan. Great. Thanks for jumping in with us too. Appreciate it. All right, there he is, Dylan Terriman. Awesome. Very, very cool. That a fellow YouTuber won our latest prize. Again, next prize going out the door. The Anchorman. Yes, Champ Kind. Here's one of the 4 bobbleheads that we're giving away. It's a set of 4. There he is. Look at that beautiful cowboy hat. Whammy! Nice. There you go. Champ Kind and the crew going out at 475. We're only 16 subscribers away from that number. And as we close in on 500, 500 is a big landmark for YouTubers, which is why we're really trying to march hard towards 500. Then we can start doing some fun interactive stuff with you. And Boy Green and I, like I said, behind the scenes have already been talking about that. I mentioned to him this morning that I did some machinations to get some things ready for when we get to 500. So the sooner we get there, the more we can spill the beans on some of the things that we've been up to behind the scenes, trying to make this a better experience for every one of you subscribers each and every day. So all coming your way. But thanks again to everyone out there for the support. And it's always nice to check in with fellow YouTubers. To a degree, we're in competition, but I think to a larger degree, we're almost kind of our own little community. And it's kind of cool to come into this community, especially for someone like me, who's come from a very traditional media background of print and television and radio, and now to come into this YouTube space where literally you're working out of your home. It's a pretty cool thing,
It's pretty crazy.
My wife is not too happy about giving up one of the bedrooms and me turning it into a studio, but other than that, life has been pretty good here around the Lurch household, so I'll take it, as they say.
And there you go. Before we get to the rest of Super Wildcard Weekend, I just want to explain it because I think some people don't understand. So we have 200 people in the room live right now, but that's across our social media platforms, my YouTube channel, my Twitter account, and the YouTube channel you see right here, MC Show Digital. What we're trying to drive you to is we appreciate if you watch anywhere, but what we're trying to drive you is specifically to this YouTube channel down below. It's youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. If you subscribe to that channel on your screen, you have a chance to win free prizes, which is awesome, and hopefully become a part of this community of sports fans that we have here. We talk Jets, Giants, Bills, draft, NFL is our main focus, and some Survivor splashes in there and things. You'll get to know us as you become a subscriber to our community. So join the growing army, baby. And again, we're 41 subscribers away from our first level of monetization, and that allows us, as Lurch said, to do a lot of cool stuff. We have some exciting announcements to come on that, so please make sure you subscribe right there on your screen. Also drop it in throughout the broadcast in the comment section so you guys can just click and transport your way over there, but make sure you guys do. Just want to get a quick plug on that before we continue to dive in, of course.
I want to get
the
into
Wildcard Weekend and coaching search.
I want to get into all the games, but as comments are coming up that hit things, let's get after some of them along the way here. And here's William asking about, do you really believe that Harbaugh will more likely be the Giants coach rather than the Dolphins coach? Yeah, I had one of my buddies who's a big football nut. I call him the gambler because he's a nutty gambler. And he had him and I were having a text debate the day that Harbaugh sprung free, the day that the Ravens apparently in a phone call told Jim Harbaugh, by the way, that he's no longer going to be their head coach. And it went down apparently in a phone call, Boy Green. That's the latest intel on the whole Harbaugh situation. And so he was arguing that because the Dolphins were sitting out there with no GM and no head coach, oh, come on, man, he's going to the Dolphins. He's going to have control, blah, blah, blah. So he was throwing that kind of nonsense at me. And I was like, first of all, if Harbaugh wanted to come to New York definitely wants Harbaugh. He's choice A. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The Giants have almost not even hidden that, even though they haven't said anything publicly. It's pretty clear that, he's choice A here. But there are some nice other choices. And God forbid we talk about this a little bit later in the show, if suddenly the Green Bay head coach, Matt LaFleur, comes available, because it sounds like they're going to sit down today or tomorrow. And, they're not all that happy in Green Bay with the way that Green Bay went out, the way the season unfolded. So if LaFleur is not able to make amends with Green Bay, you might have another terrific coach out there on the market potentially. So talk about options. There's a lot of good options. Kevin Stefanski is not a bad option B. Matt LaFleur is not a bad option B. Still to me, and by the way, Mike Tomlin, we'll see how this goes tonight. Word on the street is he could become an option. So you could have 4 veteran coaches out there who have all been there, done that. Some who have won the big game already. All right. Out on the market for a team that needs stability. The Giants want Harbaugh. Okay. But now the Dolphins have hired a GM. So now you think the Dolphins are firing their GM? The Giants, I believe, if push came to shove and the only way that they could get Harbaugh was to let Joe Shane go, I believe John Mara would do it. Now,
I agree.
Come to that. I don't think it's going to come to that because I think Joe Shane, who's already apparently been in very, very close contact with Harbaugh and is setting up the Giants interview with him, and they want to be right at the front of that line. I think that he understands the moment here. And he wants to keep his job. And I think the way he keeps his job is he basically gives John Harbaugh whatever John Harbaugh wants. You know,
of course,
John Harbaugh wants more say on player personnel. Okay, we'll powwow on every player personnel decision. Like, I just think that Joe Shane will do the right thing. Remember, Joe Shane's history. He comes from being Brandon Beane's, right-hand man. So he wasn't the GM in Buffalo. He was the assistant GM. He was the one kind of feeding a little advice to Brandon Beane and then, agreeing and disagreeing with him on things, but ultimately understanding that Beane kind of had the final call. I just think that he's a smart enough guy and he wants to be successful in New York. All right. And I think the way to do that is to work with whoever it is that you can get. And when you have a candidate like a John Harbaugh out there, okay, and he's your number one guy, how do you prove yourself to the fans? How do you prove to the fans you can do the job? How do you prove to the fans that you are a good GM? You go get the number one guy. I think it's actually going to be a lot of egg on the face of Joe Shane if Harbaugh doesn't come to New York. So I think it is Joe Shane's job right now to try to do everything possible to get Harbaugh to come. Now, ultimately, this is John Harbaugh's decision, okay? And like I said, he has to want to come to New York. But again, we're hearing some rumblings. All the reporting that's come in so far is that he's highly interested, that he really does like Jackson Dart. So what's the reason not to come to New York? Because in all honesty, not that there's anything wrong with any of the other jobs that are out there. This is New York City, Jack. Okay. I've said this before. My old partner, Bud Poliquin, would always criticize me every time I would say this. This is the Big Apple, pal. This is the stage. This is the number one market in the United States. If you get the chance to come there in the right situation, why would you say no? Because you like warmer weather? You're going to hang in Miami? You like, some person that you interacted with years down the road who's connected as the president of operations or something at some other place, and you're a little more comfortable with that person. I just don't see you saying no to New York for that reason. He might say no to New York because he doesn't want the pressure. Doesn't want to deal with the everyday pressures that come with being New York's head coach. And you know what? We don't want a coach that feels that way. So if that's the way you feel, bye-bye, John Harbaugh. And, I don't want you here in New York, in all honesty. So I do think it comes down to Harbaugh, but I do think he's choice A right now for the Giants. And to be honest with you, at this point, Boy Green, unless Harbaugh comes out on the record and says, I just simply didn't want to go to New York, for X reason, Y reason, whatever. All right. I'll be heartbroken if Joe Shane and John Mara don't find a way to get John Harbaugh as the head coach of the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, there's a lot of Harbaugh stuff. We'll leave this comment up. There's a lot of Harbaugh stuff to unpack here. So first off, just to the Dolphins point of it, boy, why would he want the Giants if he could go to the Dolphins? The Dolphins hired a guy named John Eric Sullivan. Do you know anything about John Eric Sullivan, Lurch?
No.
Okay, so I do because the Jets have interviewed him for their general manager position before, including last year. It happened. John Eric Sullivan is a longtime Green Bay Packers guy. He has no direct correlations to John Harbaugh. When the Dolphins were in the middle of their GM process and they had 3 finalists for the position, one of the 3 finalists was a Harbaugh guy. His name is Chad Alexander. He was the director of pro personnel for the Jets for 5 years. Before he was with the Jets, he was with the Ravens for 20 years. He directly crossed over with Harbaugh for a large chunk of that history. People thought if the Dolphins hired Chad Alexander, who is also a finalist with John Eric Sullivan, that could be a clear indication they're all in on Harbaugh.
Yeah.
By hiring John Eric Sullivan, who has no correlation to Harbaugh, and that doesn't mean you can't have arranged marriages where people don't know each other, all of a sudden work together. Look at Darren Booch and Aaron Glenn. They didn't know each other, and all of a sudden, booyah, they're together as a combo. But the Dolphins thought the GM hire is more important than just square peg forcing a John Harbaugh connection. So they hired Eric Sullivan, and so let's go through a couple of things here. Harbaugh's camp apparently received calls from 8 or 9 teams showing interest. Harbaugh over this weekend, he's not had a visit yet. Over this weekend, Harbaugh and his agent are boiling down that 8 or 9 teams that called to a final 4. Yep. The 4 that he's actually going to meet with, that he's actually going to talk to. And again, maybe he's going to actually go through his process and talk to 4 teams legitimately, fly there, do the whole boot and caboodle. Or maybe he goes to 1 or 2. He's like, you know what? It's going to be one of these. Yeah. And you will see a level of importance. With all of that being said, there was a new insider report this morning, Lurch. You'll be happy to hear this. This is from SNY insider Connor Hughes. The belief among coaching candidates is the Harbaugh race is down to 2 teams, the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons. And more on that. The loser of said sweepstakes, because obviously only one coach can hire John Harbaugh. In Connor Hughes' belief, who's covered the Giants here, he believes the loser ends up with Kevin Stefanski. So the winner will get Harbaugh. The loser of these two teams gets Stefanski. That's how he believes it's going to play it out. And then he added this, the quote, Miami Dolphins have Harbaugh interest too, although they already made their GM hire, and there could be additional vacancies coming up Wildcard Weekend, which is wink, wink to what you said about a potential surprise hiring that could happen via the Packers, obviously, or maybe even the Steelers tonight. So by all accounts, the Giants are all in terms of they wanting Harbaugh and Harbaugh wanting them. Albert Breer reported that Harbaugh over the past couple of days, right? He gets fired. He doesn't set up any interviews. He's been watching tape on two quarterbacks, Lurch. Cam Ward, because the Tennessee Titans job is open, and Jackson Dart. So he's been watching Jackson Dart tape this week. To me, that's because it's serious. I don't think he watches that tape and goes, geez, I don't want that job. So I fully expect the Giants are going to get a chance for Harbaugh, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Let me ask you this, Boy Green. I
Sure.
ask you, try to be an objective person here, because you're
Yes.
the one in the room that's not the Giants fan. I mean, I
Sure.
obviously have motivation for wanting this guy to
Right.
come and be the
Yeah.
Giants coach. I also think that while Stefanski right now is option B, and the Giants have already interviewed him, so they have a good sense
Yes,
of what
correct.
he's going to bring to the table. The fact of the matter is that if LaFleur comes on the market suddenly, which could come in the next couple of days, if Tomlin comes on the market, which could come in the next week or two, and if Harbaugh is really intent on doing several interviews and kind of walking through this process, then it's going to be another 2 weeks probably, or somewhere in that neighborhood, a week and a half before John Harbaugh makes a decision. The good thing is that gives the Giants, in case they don't get Harbaugh, the opportunity to vet some of these other candidates and decide if Harbaugh is indeed the best candidate. I mean, I would argue if Tomlin comes on the market, that the Giants, there seems to be a kind of I don't know directly what the connections are. I haven't looked into that yet. All right. But the Giants have always seemed to have kind of a connection with the idea of Tomlin and that he would be a good fit in New York. So, but that doesn't exist right now. So let's talk about what exists versus what doesn't exist. But I do think it's fascinating. I do think the options are really, really good for the Giants. But let's talk about Giants and Falcons, because I agree with Hughes' report there that I think it's likely going to come down to those two. Where would you rather put yourself in a coach's position? Where would you rather be? Would you rather be coaching Jackson Dart after you break down the tape and look at it all, or coaching Michael Penix / whatever the future is? Because I don't know how sold Atlanta even is that Penix is the guy. I think right now, whether it's true or not, the Giants are sold that Dart is the guy. So give me your thought based on not only the quarterback, which is a big piece of it, but the rest of the personnel. You have some nice pieces in Atlanta, no question. But I don't know that the fervor to win is as great in Atlanta as it feels like it is in New York because of New York's struggles over the years. But you could make that argument. I speak from a New York perspective, so I'm always going to be biased to that market. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts on that.
Sure. Here's the thing I would say. If he's just looking for, path to the playoffs and winning the championship, he's already won a championship, but the path to win another one. The NFC South is a hell of a lot easier than the NFC East. I mean, look, we had an 8-9 team win. Harbaugh was the coach of the Baltimore Ravens for 18 years. In 11 of his 18 seasons, he had a winning record, which means he had at least 9 wins in every season, 11 of the 18. Let me re-rack that. In 13 of his 18 seasons, he had a winning record. In 11 of the 18, he had a double-digit win. So long story short, that's just a fancy way of saying that he wins a lot of games. He wins a lot of games often. The NFC South is easier than the NFC East. In the NFC East, you got Dak Prescott over there. You got Jay Daniels when he's healthy. Jalen Hurts is the reigning Super Bowl MVP, although they were eliminated over the weekend. So we'll have a new Super Bowl champion. That's more difficult. So if that's part of the ethos, woof. NFC East, a lot more difficult than NFC South. 100%. Now you look at the talent on the
path to winning. Faster path to winning. Which team?
Yes, I would say NFC South, just because of the division. You're guaranteed, if you win the division, you get a home playoff game, guaranteed. So that is, of course, the path to winning a championship. It's more difficult to envision for the Giants, but I like the talent of the Giants. But to stick with the Falcons for a second, Penix is obviously a total unknown. We have no idea. Is he good? Is he bad? He's been
piling up for this guy. He had injuries in
college.
Dude,
he did.
Piling up.
100%. Yeah, he's had multiple operations on his shoulders, ankles, and knees. So, yeah, he's had a long history and he's older because he had this very unique path through college football because of these injuries. So, no, he's a total wild card, no question about it. Bijan Robinson is one of the best running backs in football. Drake London is one of the best wide receivers in football. Kyle Pitts is a free agent, so that's up to balance, but he was a second-team All-Pro at tight end this year, so he had a nice bounce back in his contract year. On defense, they have a ton of talent. James Pierce Jr. Had 10.5 sacks as a rookie this year, so they've got talent people probably don't know about because it's down there in Atlanta. So the defense is very nice. According to the Falcons, they want to keep Jeff Ulbrich as their defensive coordinator, and he did a marvelous job. But would Harbaugh want a coach being forced upon him? I don't know if that's such a plus for the Falcons side of things. Harbaugh, by all these reports, wants control. I think with the Giants, they're willing to bend the knee and give him control. I think they're willing to do whatever it takes. We'll find out if this is true. I think they're willing to do whatever it takes to get him in. You want full roster control? Great. Whatever we've been doing hasn't been working. It's all yours, champ. Oh, you think Jackson Dart is this talented quarterback? Look, then he's all yours. We're heading into year 2. He's still got 4 more years of cheap rookie control plus a 5th-year option after that. Malik Neighbors is a superstar. The running backs, I'm not as high on Tyrone Tracy. Cam Scatterboo's interesting, but I wonder how long his career will be with how violent he plays the game. So that's sort of up in the air. And then the offensive line is a mess, as it always has been. But I like Andrew Thomas and things of that nature. And then the defense is nasty. I mean, Brian Birds, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Abdul Carter, obviously. So they have a lot of talent. So if I'm Harbaugh, long story short, I'm not a Giants fan, so I'm just trying to shoot you straight here. I think there's a better division in Falcons land where it's easier to win. But Harbaugh doesn't seem like someone that's been trying to avoid difficulty. He was in the AFC North, which has been historically one of the tougher divisions in football throughout the entire career of Harbaugh. It's been one of the toughest divisions in football. I don't think he's scared. I think he wants a challenge, and that challenge is the Giants. And again, you win in New York. It's different than the Jets, of course, because the Jets literally haven't won in forever. The Giants have 2 Super Bowls this century. So, there's an iconicness to the Giants that obviously doesn't exist with the Jets. So, but bringing it back to winning, because Giants, all they know is winning for the most part of their, careers, franchise history rather than the last 10, 15 years or so. So, yeah, I think Harbaugh's going to end up a Giant. That's what my gut tells me. Yeah, again, I agree with your earlier assessment. If Joe Shane has to get pushed in front of a bus, they will push Joe Shane in front of a bus.
They're going to. You have to.
Yeah, right. And if I'm, I don't know. Again, this is where I have to admit, a level of naiveness here. I don't know that a relationship exists between Harbaugh and Shane. I can't pretend it. I have no idea. So maybe they love each other. But we saw it in Jacksonville. The Jacksonville owner, Shad Khan, wanted Trent Baalke to stay. Liam Cohen didn't. And they're like, sorry, Baalke. He got shoved in front of the bus. So you do whatever you can for a coach that you believe in. The Giants clearly believe in him. And I would be surprised if Harbaugh's first head coaching interview visit isn't the Giants. But we don't know that officially yet, of course.
Yeah, we don't. But, I agree. And I just think the whole, to me, it's New York. I mean, it's just a massive opportunity. And the fact that it appears that they kind of have the quarterback in place, some young pieces, another nice high draft pick. It's just a lot to like right now about the position that the Giants are in. And I agree with you. I don't think John Harbaugh is scared of a challenge. I don't think he is at all. And as we all know, any of us that are New York Jets or New York Giants fan that are watching right now, there is no greater place to succeed than in the great state of New York. I mean, New York, just, the Canyon of Heroes, the kudos that goes to the coach that wins championships in New York. It just never, the accolades never end. That guy never pays for another cup of coffee the rest of his life anytime he's in the city. I mean, it's just, we really, really revere our heroes. Look at Joe Namath and what he is as an iconic guy for the Jets. And he won one way back in, 1969 for crying out loud. And yet, he didn't pay for a cup of coffee ever in New York. Like that guy, 1969, we still remember Joe's the guy. And that goes for, guys like Parcells and just people that have brought Tom Coughlin, guys that have brought championships to New York. It's nothing like it. To win a championship for a New York franchise. So I think Harbaugh's going to be up for it. And I'll tell you what, Boy Green, if they don't get him and Harbaugh doesn't come out and say something very directly about he took the Atlanta job or whatever job he takes because, there was just this definitive thing that the Giants didn't have that he really wanted, relationship with somebody or something about something. He says, this to me was why, ultimately, splitting hairs here. This is why I went down this path instead of the other. The torches and the pitchforks are going to be out for Joe Shane. I mean, forget it, man. You think
if it's a Shane reason? Oh my God.
forget
The
it.
Giants baffled this decision. Again,
Again.
for those who don't know, the Falcons fired
So-
Terry Fontenot as well, so he's not there. So it's a complete reset. So, oh my, yes, if I'm a Giants fan, and that question, of course, is going to be asked, especially
losing your
when it's
mind.
so
Shane is doesn't get him.
right. And it's so upfront, right? Like there is a lot of teams are interested. It's clearly a race. Harbaugh is filtering his options, so there's going to be a level of calm finalists if you want, 3 or 4 teams. And if the Giants are one of them, and then he does not pick them, so he thought enough of them to make them a finalist, but didn't push them over the top, he will inevitably be asked that question at the Atlanta Falcons introductory press conference. Hey, quick question, coach. Welcome to Atlanta. Why didn't you go with it? Because the Giant reporter should fly down to Atlanta to try to get the answer to that question. I would be fascinated to hear what's that reason. And if it's anything about like potentially Joe Shane being kept, and the Giants are like, well, we don't really want to get rid of him. Harbaugh's like, okay. And he leaves and goes, oh my God, what a disaster.
Yeah, I think he'll be crafty if let's just say he took the Atlanta job. I think he'd be crafty in that press conference to not answer that question other than say, I love this. I love this. I love this about Atlanta. He's going to stay away from, I mean, he's a smart guy. He's been around the press enough.
But why would it matter to him, though? Like,
I
if
know,
Giant fans are pissed at him, so what? I've got a 10-year
Yeah.
contract with the Falcons. Why would he care?
Yeah, they just
I'm telling
that's
the
my
truth.
sense, but hopefully that's not the case, and he never has to have that press conference. That the press conference is happening in the great state of New York or in New Jersey at the Meadowlands, because this is Joe Shane is on the hot seat again. All right, like this is great news for Giants fans that this guy's available. It's terrible news for Joe Shane because if he botches it and he doesn't get the guy, every Giant fan is going to blame one person and one person only primarily. They'll blame ownership too, but they will blame one person, Joe bleeping Shane. So he has to get Harbaugh. And if he gets Harbaugh and kowtows to whatever his demands are, then he becomes viable for New York fans. And suddenly he's a little more of a hero. You know, you've lost a Saquon for God's sakes. You know, you let Daniel Jones become something somewhere else. How about this time you actually land a guy and make a good decision and this guy takes us somewhere? So I just think it's really an interesting juxtaposition, the position that Joe Shane is in right now and what he needs to accomplish here in order to, dare I say, make Giants fans believe that he is capable of doing this job and doing it the right way, because he's already got a lot of detractors right now. I don't know if it's 50-50 right now. It might even be 60-40 against, okay? But he can bring some of those people back to his side.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, it's going to be 90-10. And like I said, pitchfork and torches are ascending upon the Meadowlands and John Mara's house, because they will go nuts.
I think I know the answer to this question.
Atlanta is going to get the Atlanta Falcons are going to outduel the Giants. Coach, why? In what world should that ever happen to the Giant fan? I know that's being arrogant to say that.
Very
arrogant. What world to the Giant fan is that acceptable? It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Not acceptable. Go ahead.
Okay, let's say Harbaugh's first visit. It sounds like he plans on doing multiple visits, but let's say the Giants are his first one. Do you let him leave the building? You say, what do we have to do right now to get you to sign on the dotted line? Because, of course, as soon as he walks out that door and hops on that plane, another team could try to do exactly what potentially the Giants did or didn't do. The Falcons, he comes in and says, what do we have to do to get you to be the head coach right now? Because we're willing to do it. Because you have to assume other teams are maybe willing to ask that very question and do whatever it takes. Would you be willing to do that as a Giants, and do you think they will attempt to do that?
If they're not meeting about that today, and if indeed they are number one, which might be the case, then they're idiots. I mean, this is what you do. If you believe he's the guy, then you are having meetings among staff right now to say, what do we have to do to not let him leave the building and sign on the dotted line? That's absolutely. Now, Harbaugh might not do it. He might,
of course,
say, no, I do.
I want to go through this process. And you respect that.
Right. There's a process, but you guys, thank you. You've done a great job, and I promise you I'll get back to you expeditiously. You've given me a lot to think about here, and I'm really excited about the possibility. He can walk out the door. People can say no to salespeople. It is true. I've been in that world. Okay, they can say no.
Although it seems impossible in the moment that I can't walk away.
Well, like I said, I would Jerry Jones it up here and bring John a pair of pajamas, maybe some nice satins, maybe have a room available, the presidential suite at the Waldorf, and let's just make sure that John stays in New York, has a nice night's sleep, gets a nice nice hot towel and a lovely massage, and shows back up the next morning with any other questions he has, and then says, yes, just sign right here, sir, on the dotted line. So the Giants are a very proud franchise, and they got to get this one right. And if there is mutual interest, they can't let him walk out the door. So I don't disagree with you, Paul, but is Harbaugh going to do that? Every individual is different in terms of what they're going to do and how they're going to operate. And is he going to be hard sold on this job? Is he already a believer that it is the right job? And as long as they give him whatever it is that he wants, control or a little more say here, or a nice fat budget for his coaches. I already heard numbers thrown out there about what kind of budget he wants for his assistant.
By the way, I just want to address that those are false. So those well, here's the main reason that they're false. It's not like, oh wow, how ridiculous. Several coaches have come out and said that budget doesn't make any sense as a demand because it's not a big enough budget to support. If he was seeking some superstar staff and he demanded that budget, coaches, because we don't know this as normal, analysts or fans, what a real budget looks like. But yes, he apparently one of the demands that came out from a source that now doesn't seem like it makes any sense is Tony Grossi, who's the insider that reported all this, is Harbaugh demands a $10 million budget for his support staff. And several coaches come out and said that doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't even cover the staff. So that demand is silly. So it sounds like people are sort of projecting what they think are big things that he's going to want. Let's just be straight here. I don't know what demand he could have that any team wouldn't meet. Like he wants roster control. Yeah, obviously. Look what he did in Baltimore. For the most part, it worked very well. Now it ended ugly. You're going to have to ask those tough questions. What the hell happened there at the end of Baltimore? There's going to be honest conversations, but the Giants should be willing to do whatever it takes. And boy, Lurch, if I could have told you a year ago, the next head coach of the New York Giants is John Harbaugh, Super Bowl winner, you'd be a very happy man.
Listen, I'll still be a happy man if it's a Stefanski or a LaFleur or certainly if Tomlin became available. I'd still be a very happy man because the Giants ultimately need some veteran leadership here. It just is, boy, it's just one of these things that's percolating right now. And for those that are Harbaugh detractors, and I see some of them even popping up in the comments, and we'll get to them a little bit later. My thought would be this: I know he's got the one Super Bowl, okay, but he's just a leader of men. I've seen that for years. I think that over 18 years, it is more than likely and probably, more than inevitable that, the message just doesn't get through anymore, that it just doesn't sink in. I also think he was dealing with a very, very difficult personality in Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is really a conundrum. Just hearing things even prior to Harbaugh being let go about, Lamar and how he felt about being in Baltimore, like just this crazy stuff. This is a guy that's won multiple MVPs for this franchise. And yet it seems like every year there's some kind of Lamar thing out there about whether Lamar's happy, whether Lamar likes the offense, whether Lamar's happy with the OC, whether Lamar is happy with the way Harbaugh's running things. It's like, it's tough. These diva guys are tough to coach. So he walks into a New York situation, if that's where he comes, and he's got a quarterback that he can mold and sculpt in his own image. He's got some young defensive players that I think he can do the same thing, and he has a nice reputation. I know he ultimately was a special teams coach when he initially took the job, but I think Harbaugh is a coach of all. What I like about him actually is because he didn't start on the offense or the defensive side. Dare I say he started in the special teams world, before he got his head coaching opportunity. I kind of feel like he's more of a jack of all trades. Nobody labels him. So many of the coaches today, they're just labeled. He's an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. Nobody labels him. Everybody just labels him a great leader. That's a good quality to have for a head coach. Offense, defense. Who cares? Just get a great offensive coordinator. Just get a great defensive coordinator. Can you lead us? Can you be a leader of men? That's, to me, what the most successful coaches are. Doesn't matter which side of the ball they come from. So I like the fact that he's neutral. He's almost like gender neutral, and so there's no labeling him one way or the other. He's just neutral. He's just a guy. He's just a person.
Which I think has its pros and cons. So the pro is the CEO, the guy who oversees the whole operation. That's great. But when you're a jack of all trades, but master of none, like Sean McVay is an offensive wizard. He calls the plays. That's the intrigue of having Sean McVay as your head coach. He calls the plays, and that's his specialty. His offensive coordinator, with all due respect, in this case, it's Mike LaFleur, former Jets offensive coordinator. His job is different than others. So, he brings that special quality to the table. For Harbaugh, what that means to me is, as a former special teams coordinator, boy, he's better. And the good news is he's been around the league for a long time. So he should have what I'm about to say, good connections around the league to hire offensive coordinator you could trust to run the system,
Right.
a defensive coordinator you trust to run the system, and say, hey, I'm the big honcho, I'm John Harbaugh, but I've got lieutenants that I trust running this, that, or the other, and him not having any of those abilities, it's going to be very important for him to have strong connections, which again, I would assume he has, being an NFL head coach for 18 years.
Yeah. I just think he's a jack of all trades, and I think he'll have an easier time managing the Giants initially with the way that they're set up at the moment than I think he was in the latter years of the Ravens. I do think it did sour a little bit, and there definitely were some questions. He there was some game management things. There was some things, but overall, I still, as a football fan and as somebody who covers football, I just still always like Harbaugh team. They're tough, man. That team, they're tough. And let's not forget they were a field goal away from making. They should be in the playoffs. And who knows how deep they could go because that team was starting to get healthy. It was starting to get back. They were decimated this year by injuries. The fact that they're even in position to kick a field goal potentially to earn a spot over a team that had been in first the whole year in the Steelers is a miracle. It's a damn miracle. And John Harbaugh deserves credit for that. Not like, oh, they didn't make it. What a bum. Didn't make it. The kicker's just got to make a kick. Crying out loud. Game over. They're in. Yeah. They've gone from 1-5 to the playoffs. What a miracle run. And how much further can they go? Because they still got Lamar. They still got all these great things. So please, this guy, for all intents and purposes, man, to me, what might have been fizzling a little bit is just whether or not he was getting through to everybody the way he was earlier in his career. But I think new environment, he definitely, right out of the chute here, everything that I've seen that he has said or his people have said is that he wants to get right back into this thing. And that
that's correct.
This is a driving force. Well, that's what you want. You want a coach driven, not a coach who goes, I've done it for 18 years. I guess I'll keep doing it, make a few.
You're right. No TV, no year off. None of that talk has come up.
He just wants right back in, and he wants a new situation and a fresh start. And he's going to, they let me know by phone. Yeah, okay. I'll show them. I'll show them what they let go. I love it.
That's so disrespectful. How does that happen by phone after 18 years? What a Super Bowl for you.
That's true. And I haven't heard any refuting, that came out again. This is all speculative stuff at this point. But the fact that Baltimore and the organization hasn't refuted that or said that's totally not true, we met with John, makes you think it's true.
Yeah, of course.
I guess we'll find out if it was ultimately true. But if they called him to say, hey, John, by the way, after 18 years, we'll let you go. Goodness. Get off.
Right. Everyone claims that the Ravens organization is
private planes, for crying out loud. They're all multi-billionaires. You can't own a franchise these days without being a multi-billionaire. You can't get on a flight and go talk to a guy in person and give him the bad news. A guy that's been with you for 18 years and won you a Super Bowl. Oh, bro,
that's crazy.
Whew. Stay classy, Baltimore. Stay classy.
There you go. I know we're going to get into a lot of topics here on this show, and for good reason. Again, the playoff games, the head coaching search, and big decisions, right? We're waiting on Dante Moore to decide whether he's going to declare for the draft or not. So there's a lot of things that are happening in the universe. And I did not see this morning on my morning show, but I do want to just highlight it. Hep came in here. This is a very sad story.
Oh, yes.
Indy, who is, of course, supportive on the MC Show digital channel and the Boy Green channel. I got to meet Indy for the first time, and so did Lurch at our tailgate special. Nice. Last year, Hep shares that Indy is starting chemotherapy today. Not sure if you caught that in the chat this morning. I did not. We had a unbelievable 10. We did 10 two-round New York Jets mock drafts, which was 40 picks between two draft analysts. It was one of the craziest shows I've ever done in my life. So thank you for that. But no, I did not see this very serious thing. So I'll be able to address it even further on my show. But I saw it in the comment section. I just saw it, and I didn't want to ignore it, of course. So Uncle Indy and your entire family, we're thinking of you. That's a very scary situation. Again, Uncle Indy, so many people love you in your life. And this is a difficult hand that was dealt to you that you have to start chemotherapy here. But you're a big fighter, and you've got a wonderful, amazing family and grandkids and everything around you that are going to be supporting you along this very difficult journey, Indy. So, Hep, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I did not see this. And, Indy, I'll address you, of course, on my own programs and shows as well. But we're all thinking of you, buddy. So I just want to throw that in there.
Thoughts and prayers for sure. And, that's – look, man, you got to fight the good fight, man. I love that Jimmy Valvano speech. I know he didn't make it, but I think there's a lot to be. There was a lot said by that man at that time during those struggles. You can lick this, baby. You can lick this. So we're really rooting for you, Indy, and you got a whole community of people rooting for you. So just fight the good fight, man. You could do it. You could do it.
100%. We're behind you, man.
People have overcome it, and it can be done. I lost my sister to cancer. It's heartbreaking to lose a family member. I'm sure everybody in our audience probably has somebody, if not in their immediate family, in their distant family, or
unfortunately
that we've lost. I mean, it's a very, very invasive disease, but there are a lot of good stories too. A lot of people
that survived and have won that battle. So thank you, Badshaw. He's been a member for 18 months. He's saying this one's for my brother Indy. So we're all thinking about you, buddy. Again, get well, keep fighting the good fight. We'll all be rallying for you on all of our different programs here, and we're thinking about you, pal. So again, wanted to highlight that in the middle of our NFL activity on the show.
All right, this appropriate time, good off of this to just take a break. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet that can save you 30 to 70%. All right. So we will hear from our friends at Box Drop. We'll come back and we're going to recap all of these playoff games. There was some great ones. We're going to talk about it when we return. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Stick around.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
All right, we are back at MC Show Digital, the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Pop that subscribe button and become part of our growing community. Do it right now. It's youtube.com/@MC Show Digital to become a subscriber today. Boy, go ahead.
Quick breaking news nugget. The Giants, and by the way, I will explain after I give this update why the Giants need to continue to do this, but we'll get to it here. Another interview coming in here for the New York Giants. Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo will interview for the Giants head coaching job, Monday. So tomorrow he will be coming in. That interview is officially happening. Anarumo, of course, overlapped with Joe Shane in Miami and was the Giants DB's coach back in 2018. And okay, let's say you want Harbaugh, and Lurch made that very clear. You want Harbaugh. They should go on Harbaugh. But if Harbaugh is going to go through his song and dance of meet with teams, the Giants can't just stop the bus and go, can't wait to get that Harbaugh guy. You need to do your due diligence. Harbaugh could say no. I hope he doesn't for your sake, Lurch. I love a happier Lurch on the show. That's good news for business. So
I want this to happen. Really, not for my sake.
Yeah. Well, that's
anything,
but you as a Giants fan,
the next head coach, regardless.
There you go.
I might have my preferences, but I'll still be a Giant fan when the dust settles and it's all said and done.
But I advocate Giants continue to do your process. First off, for the view of it, for the public perception of fans saying, they didn't just roll over and wait for Harbaugh. And if you didn't get them, you look like you're backpedaling and doing all kinds of crazy survival skills. And I think it's information gathering. Talk to a lot of smart people, and you get smarter as an organization. Hey, Lou, how would you turn around the Jets? Or Giants in this case. Oh, how would you do that? Oh, wow. That's a good plan. Okay, thanks. Cycle another guy in, cycle another guy out. Hey, what do you think our biggest problem is? What's our biggest weakness? Just straight up with us. Oh, it's this. Wow, we didn't think about that. Okay, thanks. So have these conversations. Maybe one of those guys ends up being a head coach for you or for another team inside your division. You never know, and you know their vision. So 100%. So that just coming in from ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler. Like, they need to keep doing their process, and that's what I was going to advocate earlier, but now it comes back through with this news nugget. That's exactly what they should be doing.
The Giants have very, very strong ties with Anarumo. So even though he has never been a head coach at the NFL level, the Giants are going to give him a good look because there are some very, very strong connections there in terms of personnel, right? Wasn't it? I think Ed Valentine brought up, I think his son works in the Giants organization right now in the scouting department or something. So literally,
okay, there you go.
He's literally got family in the building. I'm pretty sure that Ed said that. So
Okay.
I hope I'm right. I'm going just solely on memory recollection, but I think I remember.
It sounds good to me. Yeah.
Pretty sure that Anarumo's son works for the Giants right now and has, I guess, the last couple of years worked for the Giants. All right, look, I want to get to some of these games, and then we'll delve into some of the comments if you want towards the back end. But I want to go through the games. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. We'll go interesting games first.
That is true, by the way. I just want to confirm it for you, Lurcha. Louis is his son, or Lewis, depending on what he goes by. He is a pro scout in the Giants front office. So,
so his son literally works for the team. So talk about insider information. Well, you already got a very, very strong connection.
Yeah, but
all
go
right.
ahead.
So Buffalo, Jacksonville. I know you were on the Jags. I was definitely on the Bills. I think the Bills are going to make a deep run. I want to see them in the Super Bowl this year. They were my pick in the AFC, and I'm sticking by it. Although they're going to have to win 2 more road games, and they won't come easy. Next, they head up to the Mile High City to take on Denver. But again, I think Denver's inexperience, other than their coach, it's the players on the field. Josh Allen certainly turned into Superman in this one, Boy Green, and they needed every bit of it. I actually thought the Bills defense, despite the fact that they gave up, 24 points, they win 27-24. I actually thought the Bills defense showed up, and obviously they got that interception to end the game. We'll talk about clock management. I know that came up. I know I was screaming at my television as I was watching that game saying, what in the world is Sean McDermott doing, having learned the lesson of 13 seconds, right? We talk about 13 seconds all the time and what Kansas City did to win that game against them. And he wasn't just given 13 seconds. He's given a minute plus. So that was bizarre. But before we talk about the bizarreness of the clock management, it did end up in his favor. So no harm, no foul, so to speak, but it could have gone the wrong way. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills and what Josh Allen was able to accomplish.
Josh Allen, okay, you could be right on the defense and offense. We're talking about those matchups. Josh Allen got beat the hell up in this game. He got mugged. He got bruised. He got battered. He got smacked. He got sacked. He got hit all over the place. And he was constantly in the blue medical tent for concussions for his foot or his ankle. His leg got caught up on one of those touchdowns. And it looks like Josh Allen's going to be good for the next game. They gave a medical report right before our show, although we're going to continue to get injury report updates as we go through this. Like, man, Josh Allen, they needed him to be Superman. And if he get beat up like this, they're going to say, oh, man, I can't wait for Superman. Then Clark Kent's going to roll into the room. We're like, we needed Superman, not Clark Kent here. And with how their roster's constructed, and now they're getting more, injuries. Gabe Davis suffered a very serious injury. It looks like he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. And their wide receiver room is in shambles. So you may say, well,
Brandon Cooks, the resurgence.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, one of the, I think, to me, the play of the game was Jacksonville through the kitchen sink at Buffalo. Josh Allen he
chucked one.
He chucked it. There's nothing he could do. With how the protection scheme was called, he had free rushers at him, and he's like, crap, I won't be able to shake this guy. I got to throw it to the spot where I hope my guy is, and threw it up to Brandon Cooks, and it just worked out perfectly because, this is what they say in football, that when someone is blitzing at you, throw to where they're blitzing from because that's where the hole is in the defense. That was where pre-snap you see, I got a linebacker in the flat. And then you snap it, you're like, holy crap, that linebacker's coming at me. That means a flat over him is open. So it takes a touch on the pass. It takes the right play call because you have to have called the right play that someone is taking advantage of said hole that's on the right. You can just throw it into a pot shot or it's going to get picked off. So a beautiful throw from Brandon Cooks, who joined this team halfway through the year. The Saints weren't able to trade Brandon Cooks at the deadline, but they straight up cut him. And there were some looks by the NFL of like, hey, did you just do something squirrely here to try to get him to continue his playoff or his career immediately this season, which could have gotten him on a playoff team, which it did obviously in Buffalo. And yeah, Brandon Cooks was a superhero for the Buffalo Bills. So they're going to need more Brandon Cooks action, even at his age. He always gets it done no matter what uniform he's wearing. He's been a mercenary in his career over the last couple of years. So, wow, he was a massively important piece to the puzzle for Buffalo. So, again, they go into Jacksonville. They survive. It was a game that went down to it. Again, Josh Allen got beat up a lot. Now a familiar foe. It's the AFC East again. Buffalo will go into New England, a place, by the way, where they won earlier this season, that second matchup going into New England just a handful of weeks ago. So Buffalo should have a lot of confidence going into that one. And, man, you win that game, you're in the AFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl, which is pretty crazy.
Look, Denver's got a great D. It should be interesting. I think it's always interesting to play
New England, right? New England, isn't it? Or
No,
we don't know. Well, wait. Never
No, it is
mind. I
Denver.
misspoke.
Buffalo
It is
is
Denver.
Denver
I'm
now.
sorry.
It's a
I'm
lock,
sorry.
yeah.
Yes,
I've already
I've
got.
misspoke.
Here's the
Yes.
schedule.
Yeah, please, if you
We
could do
already
that.
kind
I'm
of got
sorry.
it. We don't know the game
Yes.
times, but we already know the days of the games. So it'll be Saturday. Okay, it's San Francisco at Seattle and the Bills at the Broncos. So the Bills will do this on short rest, Boy Green, and lose that day, which is not great considering how banged up Josh Allen was. That they got to come down a day early, and they got to travel out to Denver, which is halfway across the country. And then Sunday is Rams at Bears, and the winner of tonight's game against the Patriots. So that's
Let me
Saturday, Sunday. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me completely reset. My apologies. Totally had that wrong, and we're an NFL show. I should not have that wrong. Yeah, so our 2 Saturday games will be Bills at Denver, San Francisco at Seattle. Again, we don't know the times to Lurch's point, but we know when the games are. And again, Rams, Bears, Patriots will play that winner from tonight's game, Texans, Steelers. So my apologies. Still, Buffalo going to Denver is just as intimidating, if not more so. The number 1 overall seed. Playoffs go through Denver, and we'll see what happens. But hey, last year, Buffalo and Denver played in the playoffs. Of course, it was in Buffalo's home, not Denver's, and Buffalo ran Denver out. So I'm sure Denver is going to be ultra motivated to get payback this time around in the playoffs.
But again, I trust Josh Allen more than I trust Bo Nix. I just do. And,
Okay.
and I know that Denver D is good, and they're probably going to be in some trouble. But I also, I don't know. I just trust the playoff savvy of the Bills a little bit in this year's run. But like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, they have an incredibly difficult path. All right. They already got Jacksonville, who was difficult. They do really have a terrific defense. I thought that they could defensively do some things that would expose Trevor Lawrence a little bit, and I think they did. And going right down to that final play. I mean, what a great play by Tre'Davious White, the old man, I mean, remember we interviewed him back in training camp in Josh Allen's rookie year. We went up to Buffalo and talked to Trey White.
Yeah.
He was in his prime. Boy Green was like, whoa, man, this is the coolest thing. I just interviewed Trey White. I'm like, I know, man, that guy's the man. He's fantastic. Yeah. He's one of those.
And now he made the play that saved the game. So
and that was a great play. He got his hand in there. He poked it to the safety. Benford, he makes the play. Bingo. I mean, what a
Cole Bishop made the interception.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, just a great, they are just next man up to the nth degree right now. And
sure.
You look at this matchup on paper and you say the Bills have no business winning this thing. Want to know something? I already heard this, Boy Green.
What's that?
Bills are favored already. Vegas has put them on the favored side of Denver Buffalo. Go look it up. Vegas hasn't favored. There's a line.
Buffalo's a 1.5 point favorite over a 14-3 Denver team off rest.
That tells you what Vegas thinks of experience. So
that's unbelievable.
You think Vegas
that's incredibly disrespectful.
You think
that's
Vegas incredibly got their head up their butt? I don't think so. Vegas is right most of the time.
In Denver? Denver's 14.
I don't agree with the spread, but I try never to vex too much on Vegas because Vegas knows what they're doing. So they are
just Vegas. Okay, let me ask you this one.
The odds may flip. I mean, people like you might say, I'm getting on Denver, baby.
Sure.
Those odds may flip.
What about Carolina plus 10.5 at home? Where was Vegas on that one? That seemed bizarre at the time, and it continued to be bizarre during the game. Come on.
Yeah, it was. That that's the one I told you I would regret if I'd be undefeated right now if I didn't go on the other side of that thing. And I got vexed by Vegas on that one in our picks because I was just like, this makes no sense, which is exactly why I'm going the other way. When that comes up, I always feel like I need to go the other way.
See, you tried to bend the knee to Vegas.
Like they know something. And I'll tell you, the early part of the game, it looked like the Rams are going to just roll them. And then, then the Rams started making mistakes. Boy, Matthew Stafford, he's banged up. You talk about Josh Allen being banged up. Stafford, who we didn't even think was going to make it to this season, is
that's true.
Starting to get nicked up and banged up. And at his age, that could be trouble for the Rams, who I picked to come out of the NFC. So I got the 2 most banged up quarterbacks in football. All right. They're also the 2 cagey veterans who I have going to the Super Bowl. I picked the Rams on one side and I picked the Bills on the other side. And I don't know if I'm going to get it or not because, boy, it's going to be a difficult task for either guy considering how banged up and the path that they have to go down. But anyway, fantastic win for the Buffalo Bills. Next up, I want to go to Green Bay, Chicago. Boy, Green, come on. I mean, wow, was all I could say about that game. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, many people were, let me go to bed. I had a buddy over.
I've been told this story.
He's a diehard Bears fan. You know who it is. All right. Yeah. No name shall be mentioned here to protect the innocent. And he literally had his coat on, his boots on, and was standing at my front door. and was telling me some story. And now that it went out to commercial, it was the commercial before the start of the fourth quarter. It was the end of the third. They're down a few scores, and he's packing it in. And now the game comes back on, and he's trying to continue to tell me the story. And I'm now in view of the TV. So I've taken a couple steps towards my living room, and I'm watching the TV out of the corner of my eye, half listening to a story and half still watching the game, because I still got a quarter of football, and these guys are the comeback kids. And the next thing you know, boom, 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 the Bears are moving down the field. And I'm like, listen, I appreciate your story, but I just want to watch the game over here, because this thing ain't over yet. And he's like, come on, it's over. I'm like, okay, this is your team you're walking out on. I'm a Giants fan, for crying out loud. I'm not walking out on this game. And sure enough, he's like, I fully now am in the living room. I'm talking down the hallway to him. And he goes, all right, maybe I should, what? That other game a couple of weeks ago, I left and then they came back and won. I better not do that again, So he took his boots off, took his jacket off, sat down, and of course they came back and won. It was absolutely a hilarious juxtaposition of him, going
shame,
from hope,
shame,
exactly, a quarter of football,
playoffs.
Come on, man. And they have proven to you time and time again this season to be the comeback kids. It's not like this is a team that has executed 0 comebacks.
They have most in NFL history. Like, come
fantastic.
on.
So you got to stick with them. And, of course, the Bears did come back and win that game. Wow, that was fantastic stuff. And it goes right down to the final play. Boy, it's hard to beat defeat out of fans that are part of defeated nations, okay? And the Bears have been very beleaguered, They have a long, illustrious history, but they also have a very negative history for blown situations and lack of being in the playoffs and so on and so forth. And so, literally, as the Green Bay Packers were driving down the field on that final drive with a chance to win, he was like, they're going to blow it. I know it. I came over. I sat down because they're good. I'm like, would you stop with the negativity? Root for your team, for crying out loud. And then finally the Bears, final play, they bat that ball away and it's over. And I was like, man, what's with all the negativity? But sometimes you can't take it out of the negative fan base. Like, they just feel like we're cursed. We're going to screw it up. We're going to go the wrong direction. So I'm glad he stayed. But I don't know. Is he a true fan or not? I don't know.
No, he's absolutely not. That is massive levels of shame. There's no question about it. There's massive levels of shame here.
Listen, we've all been down in the mouth, but you got to try not to be down in the mouth to the point where your team actually still legitimately has a chance and you're already quitting. I told the story many years over the years of the Mets Game 6 World Series.
Oh, yes.
1986. This was a room full of my friends packed into my little basement apartment at my parents' house. And it was about 10 of us, 10 or 12 of us. We had gotten together for all these games. We're together for this game, Game 6. 2 outs, nobody on. Mets are down a couple. And I must admit, 11 of the 12 people in the room were like, that's it. We're done. This sucks, man. But nobody left. But everybody was definitely, we're losing. And one guy, my friend Vinny, I told to tell the story a million times. I tell it to him every time I see him. He said, guys, they're going to win. Vinny has this little funny voice. Guys, they're going to win. And we're all like, shut up, Vinny, idiot. The game's over. This is stupid. It's done. There's nobody on base. There's 2 outs. It's over. And then it's a walk and a hit single, another hit. All of a sudden, you can feel the room just completely flipping and changing, And then, of course, that glorious moment, Ray Knight scores and the Mets win. The ball goes through Buckner's legs. And it was a moment of, yeah! Like, it was just so crazy. So you can't give up on your team. I learned that lesson with the 86 Mets. Don't give up until the last out is in, until the buzzer sounds in football, so on and so forth.
That's just, but again, whoever that person is, I won't protect the innocent, I guess, although this person should be shamed publicly. I remember it was back in high school, unfortunately. That's the last time the Jets were in this position. They were on their AFC championship runs. Every game I thought they could win. I didn't go, oh boy, we've always lost forever. We're just going to lose. No, I was in the game. When big plays happen, I exploded. When fumbles or interceptions, oh geez, oh no. You just ride the emotional roller coaster. That's the best part while if you would have told me 15 years ago that Paul, you're not going to see the playoffs for 15 years, while that would have been devastating. Every year that the Jets don't go, when they do come, the 17-year playoff drought with Buffalo, and then the moment happened where the drought ended and there was euphoria and jubilation and the fans were going crazy. Like, that's what sports is all about. There's ebbs and flows, and I am going to be here for the flow after the ebb, where we're going to get there for my Jets. So shame on that individual. Shame. Especially, you never know what the playoffs, right? They win in this weird way. What if they go on to win the Super Bowl? And it was this one moment that happened here and happened there that inspired this entire switch. So come on, man.
Sports is a weird way that momentum, overcoming great adversity, doing things suddenly can propel your team, can add a jolt of confidence in some way to your team. So, there may be some teams here kind of limping their way into the next round, but they're dangerous. Those teams can be very, very dangerous. I always think it is dangerous. You always want the bye, of course, because, one less game to win, one less game to batter your players. But I don't envy the Denver Bronco and the Seattle Seahawks, because they're facing teams that have played a really tough game this past week and are ready to go again. And they got to kind of get the engine started again. And sometimes that can cost you, being having the bye is not always the most enviable spot in the playoffs. So we'll see if those two teams can respond. But I definitely think both of them are vulnerable to a certain extent.
Yes, definitely. Lurch, there's a story that I want to make sure I don't forget. It has nothing to do with this Bears-Packers game, but it just hit me. So I want to make sure that we get a chance to address, especially you with your unique background. Lurch, did you hear about the viral comment between Liam Cohen and a Jacksonville Jaguars reporter?
I did not. No. So
wow. Okay, great. So I'm going to get your raw reaction to this.
Fresh reaction, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to play the clip for you. Okay, this is it's 20 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna grab this. We're going to put it on.
Responding to a fan.
Okay. Not a fan. So what happened? So let me give the context real quick, and then we'll play the quick clip, and then I want your thoughts on it, because it is going viral on social media with people taking some intense sides to this conversation. Okay, so of course, as we already talked about the result, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars lost to the Buffalo Bills, so they lose. They do all their normal stuff, and then Liam Cohen is going to the podium. And at the podium, he's addressing the media as any coach does after a game, to answer questions from the media and go through that whole boot and caboodle and sort of have that back and forth. Well, there was a reporter, and I'll get her name in a second. So she was one of the media members in the room to potentially, whatever, raise your hand and ask the question or whatever and comment. And she had an interaction with Liam Cohen that, like I said, currently is going viral on social media, because some people agree with what she did and some people don't like what she did. But the people that seem to be on the other side of this are people from your media world, Lurch. So I don't want to paint it anymore. I just want this to happen. Then you tell me how this is. So again, I'll get the woman's name in a second, because her name is now trending viral on social media. So I'm going to play this interaction. It's 20 seconds. This is the interaction again between Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen after the game. He loses to Buffalo Bills in the wildcard round, and this reporter. Here's that interaction.
I want to tell you, congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank
you. Hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank you.
And you did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all right?
You, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
I appreciate
Take
it.
care, and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
So media people are saying this is completely unprofessional. What the hell are you doing? You're not a fan. What is this? Other people are saying, wow, what a wholesome moment that has just been captured here. This is terrific. And now people are clashing. Media people are going, what is this lady doing? Fans and other generic people in the audience are all on the other side saying this was amazing. What a heartfelt moment. That's how Schefter described it. So I'll read you Schefter's caption to this video. Well,
it's not going to change my mind. I already have my
yeah,
opinion.
right. But this is it. He says, this is an awesome post-game exchange between a reporter and Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. So that was his position that he was sharing to the audience, and now everyone's intense. Lurch, as someone who was in the media chair, I'm fascinated to hear your response to this. And it's even cooler that you have no time to think about this. This just happened right now. So I'm even more fascinated. So go ahead. Your take is what, Lurch, to that.
Completely inappropriate. Completely inappropriate.
Okay.
as a member of the media. If she is a credentialed
Because
media
I don't
member,
think some people understand. So go ahead.
who does she work for? Do you know who she works for?
Yes, I'm gonna pull this up in just a second.
If she is a credentialed media member, that was completely inappropriate. Now, these days, in media rooms, more and more, we are seeing peripheral people, dare I say. They're called media rooms because it's supposed to be, people from legitimate media,
Okay. Here it is. So this
portals.
woman's, okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't muted. Okay, so this woman's name is Lynn Jones. She worked for the Jacksonville Free Press. JacksonvilleFreePress.com is her outlet and where she goes. So she is a credentialed media member.
Legit,
Yep. Yep. By all accounts, yes.
Print/internet world.
Right. Where we all are.
You have to understand the role of the media. This is not about being a mean person. I mean, okay, it's almost impossible sometimes as a media member to not have empathy because we're human beings.
Sure.
Most of the media members, I mean, I think if we, let's just use Ed Valentine. If we took Ed Valentine up to the mountain and said, Ed, are you hoping this happens? Are you happy when this happens? Ed would absolutely, he's a Giants fan. I mean, he covers the team. So it's very hard to not have some level of allegiance to the team you cover,
Right.
But when you're in that room, that can't be part of who you are. You have to suppress that part of you and understand you are an objective observer. You are putting out content in what should be a truthful and objective manner. That means if players perform poorly, if decisions are made badly, if clock management is ruined by someone and it could have made a much better decision, that you must objectively point those things out. Okay. Rather than write a story that says, well, he's human and it's too bad that he should have called that timeout and didn't. No, he should have called the timeout. And here's why he should have called the timeout. And this is why it was a bad decision. We have to hold ourselves to a different standard in the media to be the objective, truthful force that we're supposed to be. Otherwise, we are taking a wrecking ball to our very own entity, what media is supposed to be. So yeah, I'm sure, I don't want to criticize this woman for who she is. She obviously is somebody that has great empathy, and is a great fan of the Jaguars, but not in a media room. And I stand behind my media brothers and sisters here who say this is inappropriate. I can't believe Adam Schefter said, this was a touching moment.
That's why I'm saying that's why
have that touching moment. Have that touching moment with Liam Cohen after he's done. On his way out, you grab him and pat him on the back. If you really want to do that, I wouldn't do that. Okay.
I wouldn't.
I might have felt it, but I wouldn't do it. Okay. That I felt bad for him because they put out a gallant effort. That was a really good showing by a team that didn't have nearly as good a record as some of the other teams in the playoffs. And, whatever, well, that's not the case actually with Jacksonville. I don't know why I'm thinking of that.
But I get what your overall point is. It's like, to me, because I've been in press conference settings where I've been of the media, and then a coach or something is at the podium. I've been there with Boeheim, and there's been a few NFL situations, and I can't ever imagine myself doing that. Now, the only way I could ever imagine doing what Lynn did is if I'm in the locker room and I'm off the record, I got the interview with the guy, and then me and him are just talking shop. Maybe I could see, man, that was rough out there, man. I'm just human to human talking to him. Where my mic is away. I'm not recording this.
You could do it privately. It has no place in the press conference. There's no place in the press conference.
Right. And one
exposes that you can't be objective by saying things of that nature. So then how are you, the writer, upon showing your audience that that's who you are, how are you to write an objective piece about this? Now, I don't know a lot about her publication, who she writes for in today's world where we have all kinds of different entities covering things. Some of them are literally websites that are controlled by the team, that are affiliated with the team, that are in some cases getting paychecks from the team. Then that's different. But unfortunately, we've been mixed in recent years where there are some of those types in these situations. We talked to a guy with the Giants. Hopefully we'll have a conversation with him in the upcoming weeks. I know you and I have been talking about bringing him onto the show when this coaching decision is made by the Giants. John Schmelk. John's a very knowledgeable, great guy. He works in the Giants building. he gets a paycheck, I am going to assume, from the Giants or some place in their organization. I mean, the Giants pay him to be a Giants guy. I think John actually does a really good job because he's a pro in balancing the fact that he works for the Giants with opinions and thoughts and interviews that are, I think, done in a journalistic way and in a professional way, so that he's, he doesn't necessarily come across as just a giant lackey, and that everything the Giants do is great, and it can do no wrong and they can't do anything bad. But
even though that's sort of the job, right? To
Right,
be
I know.
in said
Yeah.
position, right?
Yeah, I think John recognizes the moment though too, and I think that he looks at it in the way through the prism which he looks at it, and I actually kind of like that about him, so that you don't, But there are situations where you and I have talked about it, where someone, just using John as an example, but someone like John who directly works for an entity, a team, whether it be a college team, a pro team, whatever, may not be the best person to talk about on this topic right now because their hands might be a little bit tied or a little bit handcuffed because they work for the team. The team doesn't want certain pieces of information or you spilling your opinion, dare I say, about a particular thing. So we're better off a lot of times waiting to talk to that member, or that entity after the fact, or once a decision is made about whether he or she thinks it was a good decision, a bad decision, and why. Versus the speculative world where the organization, like for instance, in John's case, the organization probably doesn't want John speculating about who should be the next
Definitely
coach,
not.
right?
I would assume
They're going
right.
through the interview process right now. So John's in the building. So if he just starts piping off that, how John Harbaugh or bust, like I think, okay.
Right.
I'm objecting.
Anyone else who gets hired that isn't John Harbaugh, he's catching a ton of heat for.
Yeah, so plus the Giants aren't going to like that. They're not gonna
Definitely
like him
not.
saying that Harbaugh is the only guy, because if Harbaugh doesn't come to the Giants and they get Stefanski, what is he, 2 weeks later saying how great Kevin Stefanski is? It kind of looks stupid.
Yeah, right.
So it can be a difficult position sometimes when you are directly working for a team and collecting a paycheck from somebody that you're covering. So again, not knowing her entire background,
which I don't either, for that
going
matter.
on what you're telling me and what it seems like, I just, that's not, you do that when that person, you do that with Liam Cohen when he comes off the podium, and you walk over to him. There's always opportunity a lot of times as a member of the media to just grab a guy and just say, hey, listen, man, really rooting for you. And, that sucked, but you guys, stand proud, man. Keep your head up, man.
Great season or something.
Fine.
Okay. And there's one more flavor to this, Lurch.
Cares that much in the grand scheme of things.
That's
anyway,
probably true.
Although,
yeah.
But that's the job of the fans. That's not the job of the media. So
one more flavor to this. Okay. So where fans are going crazy, like, yeah, this is great. What a cool, memorable moment. And when reporters have said, that's not the time or place, fans have responded to these media members. And I have an ESPN media response, which I want to highlight here. And a fan has responded to the media that has been challenging this to say, hey, man, isn't this a cool moment? I'm sorry they don't remember your random cover 2 question about this. This is awesome. We're going to remember this forever. And this was a ESPN media member's response. This is Jenna Lane. She covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for ESPN. So real big deal here. Here's her response. Quote, why are we aiming for memorable questions and not answers? If you're aiming for a memorable question in a news conference, you've already lost the plot. We are not the story. It should always be about them and not us. And no, I'm not suggesting that's what she did. She was coming from a genuinely kind place, but that is what it sounds like people are suggesting out there in the audience about that.
Okay. Look, I just think if you stand on her side, then I don't think you have an understanding of what media is supposed to be. Okay.
Lynn, you're talking about the woman who asked this question.
Yes. Yeah. So
or made this comment rather. Right.
Yeah. So I just think, media is, we are trying to tell the stories of the game. We're trying to tell the stories of the players and the coaches. And we are always trying to do that through as objective a lens as is humanly possible. Again, I have seen members of the media. I've been at press conferences where members of the media have said things of that nature to coaches or players, wishing them well and telling them to keep their head up. But for the most part, always on the side, privately, in a one-on-one conversation. I mean, I
So what should happen next year, Lurch? Does this woman get reprimanded in some way? Is it just
on her media outlet and whether they care?
Well, I meant to you, whether you're a media guy, so I have no idea. Or is this just a, hey, this was embarrassing and now you have this on your ledger? Or what comes from this? A valuable learning lesson for people in the audience or what?
Reprimander? No. I mean, If I were her boss.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, sure. Because she's obviously getting a lot of publicity today, some good, some bad, depending on your perspective of the fans. The fans are championing her.
If I were her boss, I would sit down with her and say, do that on the side if you're going to do that at all, because putting that out there to our readers, putting it out there to people who we put content out to is it puts you in a position where your opinion potentially looks biased. That you are pro Liam Cohen, you are pro Jaguars, you're not operating from an objective place. So it's not a mean conversation. I think that she meant well.
Yeah, I think so too. She seems like a nice lady. I don't know.
It's not an attack on her character at all. It's just not really what media should be doing. But like I said, it's the line has gotten very, very blurred in recent years because there's just a lot of times a lot more than media in those rooms, or what I would call media. What I would label media. When you have entities that do have a stake in some way of painting a picture in a particular way rather than just trying to get to the bottom of things and trying to get to the truth. So the kind of media that I like to follow, the kind of media that I, am going to get, that are going to be credible to me are going to be typically ones that work from a more objective perspective rather than a slanted projective. Okay.
I just wanted to bring it up because it currently has 20 million views right now on Twitter, and that is just one source. So it has gone viral and blown up, and has been a huge point of conversation. So I noticed it yesterday. I said, I got to put that in my mind. I forgot about it when we were talking Jags Bills earlier until someone just tweeted at me about it again. And I went, oh, wow. So let me get your perspective. So there you go.
Well, what about you? I mean, I come from the more traditional journalistic background of, this is kind of the way I was taught in school. This is the way I operated when I was a regular member of the media. Now I find myself in this different world. I still look at myself as media. I still kind of hold myself to those standards. But I certainly in this format could be much more loosey-goosey if I wanted to. I could be much more like, I don't care about that. I'll just say what I think is on my mind. Kind of, that's, talk is kind of that way anyway. Talk radio is kind of that way. But what about you? You come from a different background than me. You didn't go to the great Newhouse School at Syracuse.
I did not.
You didn't sit with those professors who banged on their desks and said, get to the truth, don't put never be the story, always seek out the story, always try to be objective, so on and so forth. Those are my roots. So you don't change your roots, if you believe in them, I believe in those roots. So I'm not going to hide who I am or what I believe in. And there are going to be people out there that are going to disagree with me. And, that's what makes the world go round, as they say.
100%. It's weird because I think my position, how I've grown up, I have feet in multiple camps. I am, bluntly, a diehard Jets fan. You see it obviously everywhere where I am. I am in some level of media. I mean, I'm hired as a digital reporter for a digital organization that very clearly knows I'm a crazy Jets fan. They knew that when they hired me. That was very clear. Right. And so I'm obviously I love the team. I want them to win. I want them to win the Super Bowl. And I write and podcast and all kinds of things with that flavor. And it goes back to, this is a story alert. You've had me in several of your classes over the years, speaking to your students. And when I was a student back in the day, when I was a student over 10, 11, 12 years ago, Steve Levy, who was at one point the voice of Monday Night Football, is a SUNY Oswego alum. He had a seminar and he did all this talking. And after, you could come up to him, pictures, autographs, whatever. But I wanted to ask him a question more than any pictures or anything. I said, hey, Steve, I'm a crazy Jets fan. This before I really got into much media outside of a little bit of writing. I said, I'm a diehard Jets fan. Can I be a Jets fan and do my job, being a media guy? Because, I don't want to hide it because, it's a very passionate and important thing to me. I love being a Jets fan, and I don't want to pretend that I'm not. And he went kid, put his hand on my shoulder and said, beat the Jet stuff, pal. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, you can't get into this field and be in this. He says, I'm a Jets fan. Have you heard me talk about the Jets on air? I'm like, well, no. He's like, well, there you go, pal. You just shove it in a closet or you get to this level and then the fan part isn't important anymore. You're doing a job. And he just gave that. I asked for the advice. He gave me advice. I just went, thank you, Steve, shook his hand. And I just sat on that for a while. And then eventually, with all due respect, I said, screw Steve. I'm a diehard Jets fan. I'm going to try to balance both worlds because in my opinion at the time, and it's still, that flame still burns, is I think a fan of the team isn't like biased where they're just wearing green shades. They can see the problems closer than anybody. They're a fan. They've got skin in the game. So that's how I convinced myself that, like, you know, when they have a clear problem, I would know better than anyone. I'm a fan of the team. Can you believe that left guard issue or this or that? So I felt like it wouldn't be biased in a bad way. It'd be biased in a good way, that I would see it clearer than ever. So now we have this situation where, you know, I am an optimistic guy. I want wins and all this and stuff. But in any position I've been in, when I've been credentialed for any Jets event or anything, I have not done what this woman has done. I've never, and it is what it is. She did, or she made her own choice. It is what it is. To me, I don't think I would have ever crossed that line again outside of the situation I presented in the locker room.
That question, because you do come from a different perspective than me. Why do you draw that line where you draw it, or what is it about that line that you say, hey, you know, it sounds like we're kind of on the same side on this. So, where do you draw that line, or why do you draw the line where you draw it?
Like, this is going to sound super contradictory. Like, I'm happy she said it, and I'm happy we're having this conversation about it, because, like, you know, we don't often get this test challenge in a live environment, right? Like in a classroom or something, we talk about, you know, you should do this, you should do this. So to see it in a live, real life example, it's going viral on social media, and we're creating conversations between media, fans, and players and everything else. It just feels like that we have very limited time. For people that don't know about media, this is going to be Jacksonville reporters' last time speaking with Liam Cohen until, well, I guess a combine. If he goes to the combine, you could speak to him in 2 months. But, like, it's just very limited. And for those who don't know, there's a person on site going, 2 more questions, 1 more question, 5 more questions. Like, and so questions are limited. You don't have an unlimited time. Liam Cohen's not going to answer every question in that room until everyone is fully satisfied. It's like, thanks, everybody. And then he's going to leave. So I imagine some media people competitively are like, wow, we just wasted this comment or question on this woman. And that's not something we should dance in. So I think there's some professional pride that's happening in that media room too, that I don't think a lot of people probably appreciate. So yeah, it's like I said, in my new world where I am, it's a difficult line to do it. But again, I agree with you ultimately that I would do that sort of thing on the side. I can never, as positive and crazy as I am, I can never envision myself in a press conference setting. I've been in a press conference room with Todd Bowles before, and everyone else going, hey, Todd, it's okay, buddy. Don't worry. You'll get him next time. The drought's going to be over. I just can't imagine. The only other way, right? Because one of my goals and dreams is I one day want to be hired by the Jets. That John Schmelk role we just talked about. Where you do everything, reporter, on-air host, you do some stuff behind the scenes, you're doing fun, goofy stuff with the player. Yeah, right. You're right, 100%. You're in the locker room doing a silly segment where I'm like, hey, let's walk down the 40-yard line, talk about your life or this or that. And obviously, and I'm wearing a Jets shirt. I'm pro Jets. That's my dream. And because, again, if the Jets win the Super Bowl, I get a Super Bowl ring for working for the team. So, cha-ching. But that's more of the bias and everything that gets included. So that's my dream job one day. So I one day want to be in that position. So I guess I understand it from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, look, we toe a difficult line in the world of media because, you know, I talk to my students about this all the time. There is, at this particular juncture of time, at this particular moment in time, really I think over the course of the last 15 to 20 years, I think trust in media has shrunk. I think people of the generation after mine had much higher trust in the media. My generation, you know, a little less, and then so on and so forth. I think it's shrinking. I think that's very concerning to me as somebody who considers myself coming from the journalism world, where I care about objectivity and I care about that kind of stuff. So, you know, I think it's, to some fans, it's become more acceptable to do stuff like this in a media room. And I'm trying to think of a time where I may have said something along those lines with a coach, never in a press conference. To be honest with you, for me, never even in a press conference room, even walking out the door, you know,
right.
It's okay. You're gonna be fine.
That'd even be weird. I like Todd Bowles running off the podium, right? So we're all sitting there as media, and then him going off right before he goes off into a side room. Me pulling him aside real quick. Hey, Todd, don't worry, pal. And so I can't even imagine myself doing that. Like, not sure, but hopefully this is a good thing for your class. I hope whenever you do your next sports broadcasting class, and this you should bring up this example because
that would be
fascinating. Because again, and that's what I'm sure, Lurch, you bring up stuff from when you were doing TV reporting or bringing up the footage, and people are like, "Oh, look at this! Like, look, this is from 30 years ago. How does this relate to me now?" But seeing a live example of just what just happened and debating the merits, the ethics of like painting the line, and then media today. To your point, everyone's media now. We got blog sites, we got podcasters. Anyone with a phone is media now. So it's a very different world. So hopefully that's a good. I wish I was in class for that lesson. I'd love to hear the back and forth from people debating this.
I mean, generally, to get into a playoff game media room,
right. That's a very tight room, right?
Playoff game. Usually, unless you know somebody or something,
right?
You typically have to be working for a legitimate organization that has a certain amount of followers or subscribers, or or viewing audience or listening audience.
There's limited
there are only so many seats in a room. They can't just
100%.
give them all away. So they try to balance that out, and they do tend to, dare I say, give those seats to what I would label legitimate media members or higher profile media members. And the point of that is you're reaching more people by allowing this group in versus this group. And they also all are working for some kind of form of public entities that, have audiences to answer to, and so on and so forth. So, so you don't see this often because people that work for those kind of organizations understand the rules, and understand that there's an ethical line that you cross when you basically don't ask a question and instead say, "Hey, you're going to be all right, pal," in a press conference.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't understand the point of that, to be honest with you. I don't understand the reason to do that in that format in that moment. I'd be more curious about how the media, media relations people for the Jags, felt about that.
Right. What happens next? Are the Jaguars going to post a video this week of Liam Cohen doing a nice thing with her and giving her flowers and saying, "Thank you for being so sweet in this viral moment. We need more people like you in the universe." Is that going to happen? Like, do they do nothing? Like, I'm very curious because teams are very smart. They jump on these kind of viral things and do something with it. I wonder what their position would be. That'd be interesting because if they do what I just said, you're encouraging that behavior in the future. Because if you're another reporter out there and this viral moment just happened and then it was congratulated or championed, then you're like a person growing up says, oh, that's how it's supposed to operate. Oh, cool. So, yeah.
Interesting story. Interesting. That's definitely one for the class. That's
no doubt about it.
That could be a spirited debate. So, okay. All right.
Anywho, crazy detour.
Yes. Yeah. A few other playoff games before we get out of here.
Yes.
All right. So we hit Green Bay, Chicago. Although it would be interesting to see what goes on with LaFleur. You have any thoughts about whether LaFleur is gonna get out of there? You think that's even possible?
Crazy.
I think it's kind of crazy and silly to me.
Like LaFleur has been so LaFleur has 1 year left on his deal. You don't want him to be a lame duck. You don't want him to walk into 2026 where he could be a free agent. If you're a Packers organization or any organization, you don't want that to happen, especially someone of his gravitas. Like if it's a crappy coach, you're like, I'm willing to roll the dice here. If he blows up, fine, we'll deal with that in the offseason. But if he has a great reputation like LaFleur does, as one of the best play callers in the league, he's consistently won. They're winning division titles. They're going to playoff games. Like he has a very impressive history since coming over from Tennessee. That would be crazy. The only solution I could see if it goes south is trading him because he has 1 year left on his deal. So if he gets flipped somewhere, but again, everyone speaking of this society nowadays, everyone wants to fire people. Fire this guy, fire this guy, fire this guy, fire this guy. Who are you replacing him with? Right. Who is going to be better than Matt LaFleur? And the only answer I have is one you're not going to like, Lurch, as a Giants guy, is Harbaugh. If you were going to attempt to upgrade, is Harbaugh, who has won a Super Bowl. LaFleur obviously has not in his head coaching role with the Green Bay Packers. So that would be the only one. And Harbaugh apparently is a Midwest guy. And let me make sure I get this crazy cockamamie story, right? John Harbaugh's agent is whatever his name is. His brother worked for the Packers forever. So there's like a direct weird connection to something Green Bay. But to me, if you're the Packers, despite that weird parallel that apparently exists, is if you're the Packers, you re-sign this guy. And I know there's a change of leadership and they're publicly owned, so it's very weird how all this is working. But they're having a switch at their front office level well beyond LaFleur. And that guy may want to have his imprint on the team. If you want an imprint on the team, you want an imprint of winning. So this stuff makes no sense to me. And hey, I've got, speaking of extracurricular activities from this game, right? Did you see the Ben Johnson LaFleur handshake at the end of the game?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So by the way, for people who don't know, because a lot of people have been railing Ben Johnson like, what a jerk. And look at him in the locker room going, F the Packers, baby. Yeah. And everyone's going crazy.
Mind a little.
Which is probably true. Earlier this season, LaFleur did that to Ben Johnson. When the Packers beat the Bears, Ben Johnson went in for a normal handshake, and LaFleur gave him a quick, thanks, bud, and then ran off. And Ben Johnson just had this look on his face like, oh, okay. So he gave it back. So I want people to know that LaFleur did it first. Now, if you want to be a bigger man and Ben like actually gives him a firm handshake after the game, you could make that argument, be classy. But I'm seeing it because Ben Johnson's speaking this morning. So he's saying, they said, do you have any regrets about your F the Packers rant in the locker room that went viral? And he said, I didn't get to hear the quote because we're live here on the show. He said, I spoke with the McCaskies. They own the Bears. And he says, I let them know that I hate the Packers and they're on the same page. And so that's
a rivalry. So I don't know.
And that's what he said too. Ben Johnson said, hey man, it's a rivalry. We should hate each other. That's what the NFL's all about. So you know what? In a way, come on. How is that not entertaining theater? But long story short, to answer your question, LaFleur should absolutely stay. Packers fans are crazy. Sometimes you just get stuck in your own head and you think the grass is greener on the other side, and it's not. LaFleur is a very talented head coach. And while they should make other changes, of course, when you have a devastating season like this, you have to look yourself in the mirror. A LaFleur change would be absolutely idiotic.
It would be idiotic. It would. And heck, I mean, even just looking at the comments, we'll see if we can get to some of them later. There are people in the comments today, listen to our show, that are saying Harbaugh stinks. That, you know, the only reason he won a Super Bowl is because he had a great defense. It's the only reason he did this. He had a great OC. Okay. And what about Wink Martindale? What happened there? Dudes, what are you watching?
Interesting. Okay.
You don't want to give the head coach credit for success when there is success. And then when there isn't success, you don't want to blame anybody but the head coach. Like, get it straight. The guy's a great coach. He was there for 18 years. He won a Super Bowl. Okay. He produced he turned his quarterback, who many thought, you know, I mean, what number was Jackson picked? What pick was he in that?
26, I believe. Jackson Dart, you're talking about?
No, Lamar Jackson. What pick?
Oh, 32. They traded back into the end of the first round. He was the last pick of the first round.
There were 31 teams in the NFL that didn't believe that Lamar Jackson was going to succeed as a QB1, okay, or however many were looking for quarterbacks this year.
Right. He was the fifth quarterback selected. He was the fifth quarterback selected in the first round.
He was the fifth best guy, according to the genius scouts, the genius front offices, the genius GMs, the genius coaches of the world, okay? This guy turned him into a 2-time MVP. You're not going to give him credit for that? You'd rather criticize, you know, an issue with clock management or how he won one on his defense? Come on. Get a dose of reality, man.
By the way, keep it simple. RC is screaming in here. Ozzie Smith. It's Ozzie Newsome, not Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Newsome is his name. That was his parting gift. That was his final draft with the Ravens in that role of running the draft. And he was the big motivator behind drafting Lamar Jackson. So it's Ozzie Newsome is who you're talking about. Keep it simple. RC. Appreciate that on YouTube. And yeah, that's who he handed over to Eric DeCosta, who took over. By the way, DeCosta's probably like, thanks, bud. A 2-time NFL MVP you handed me on a silver platter before I even got my first draft in. Not too shabby. So good for Baltimore, man.
And I don't know if the Giants are lucky enough to hire Harbaugh and he wants to come to New York, if it's gonna work, but it's got there's a lot of there. When guys are successful, when guys are that stable, when guys stay in a place that long, track record means something in this world. It
sure.
Means, all right. Still does today. It actually still does mean something. Could he have won more there? Sure. What coach couldn't have won more? One team wins a year. One stinking team. Everyone else, when this is all said and done, will be a loser.
That's correct.
Loser, you're all losers. Okay? One will be a winner. One. Does that really make them all losers? You know? Come on. To you, he does. I know it does, Paul.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, that's not down that road. All right. Quickie on Rams, Carolina. Anything to say on that game? I mean, I thought it was a gallant fight, frankly, by Carolina. The Rams didn't play great in that game, in my opinion. Matthew Stafford hurt that finger, which, by the way, the X-rays are back. It's negative, so
good.
He's probably just going to have to pain manage that. I mean, I don't think there's any way he's sitting out unless he can't throw the ball. It is actually on his throwing hand, which complicates a great deal, but it is negative, so they're going to have to pain manage that and figure out if there's. I don't know if they're going to. I doubt they'll put something on it since it's his throwing hand. I mean, you don't want to splinter something on there. I think it's the pinky finger. I think it is. But anyway, he's got a problem with his hand. But they pulled it out, 34-31. Got the job done when they needed to. The big play guys made the big plays. Puka was good when he needed to be good. Stafford, was a little shaky a lot of that game, but figured it out at the end, made the plays that they had to make. You want to comment on that game real quick?
Yeah. I would just say, again, the Rams had a chance to, we were talking, I think it was off air. I don't know if this was on air, but who knows? My entire life is on air. That the Rams had a chance to blow out the Carolina Panthers. They had moments. Matthew Stafford, even after he hurt his hand, the next play, he drops a beautiful dime to Puka Nacua, who would have walked it in for like a 45-yard touchdown. Puka, right off his hands, dropped it. And then the Rams had to settle for a punt instead of a touchdown. So there's all kinds of moments throughout this game where Stafford wasn't seeing things, throwing interceptions. He had a lot of turnover mistakes, and they could have run him out of the building. But it goes back to, and Lurch, I learned this from you, the old tried and true. We talk about March Madness. You get a team in the fourth quarter, and in basketball sense, the second half, you're like, whoa, we are not supposed to be here, but it's a game. It doesn't matter the Panthers are 8-9 anymore, and you won 12 games. We're in a football game right now. Someone's going to win in advance, and someone's going to lose and be out. And there was just that sort of sense, like if I'm the Rams, I'm like, what the hell? It happened once, right? They went into Carolina, the regular season loss. They were like, that's a fluke. And now you're in a game in the fourth quarter, like, holy freaking crap, we're going to get swept by the Panthers and go home? And it's just, you're in a battle. So credit to Carolina.
Playoff games should be battles. They are. It's one and done. The other team cares as much about winning as you do. So they don't come easy. In my opinion, actually, these early tough games oftentimes build the character that's necessary to win. That's why I say there is, to me, a bit of a disadvantage of having that bye, because you're not in the throes of it yet, and the other teams are already. And they may come in a little more battered, but there's also this kind of confidence and swagger about how hard I got to work to earn this next one, how hard each one of them at this point of a season is to get. Every team, no matter what their record was during the regular season, has the same record as you. So they're just trying to win one game, 1 week, 1 quarter. That's it, and you can get got that way. We see it in the NCAA tournament every single year in college basketball. That's what this is. We are now in the NCAA tournament of the NFL. Sure, there are teams that are better than other teams on paper, but that doesn't matter. It just matters what you bring that day, that moment. And a couple of turnovers, and it could all be over. But the Rams did survive, so they lived to fight another day. Philadelphia, San Francisco, Boy Green, the Eagles are out, and I'm not surprised. I was rooting for them to be out. I'm glad they lost it outright. I did pick San Francisco with the 4.5. I didn't even need it. Man, you talk about a banged-up squad. What Robert Saleh has been able to cobble together on that crazy defense. It's just a gang mentality. No great players. Everybody that is any good is hurt. And yet they keep going out there and getting the job done. They did bounce back offensively from that terrible performance in the final week where they lost the number 1 overall seed to Seattle. But man, Christian McCaffrey is just a beast. Brock Purdy, despite making some mistakes, it just shows he just has that resiliency, that ability to bounce back, the ability to say, all right, I may have thrown a pick on that last drive. I'm going to throw a beautiful touchdown pass on this next one. He just has a moxie to Purdy that I really like watching him. He to me has a moxie, and McCaffrey's just otherworldly. I don't know if he can hold up during this entire playoff. He's hold up. He's had more touches. I heard them say in this playoff game that he had more regular season touches than who's the player who had a record for most touches. He passed the guy that had that. It's a guy that the Cowboys running back, Murray, right? What's his first name? I'm forgetting Murray's first name.
Yes. Oh my God, his name's escaping me
not David Murray. No, maybe it's not Murray. Who am I thinking? It's he was a running back for the Cowboys for a while. Oh gosh,
It is Murray. He's Oklahoma running back. Oh my God, that's gonna kill me. I'll get that in a second.
Anyway, that he had more touches than that guy did in this season. That's how many touches this guy get. I mean, you talk about
DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco
Murray.
All right.
I knew it was
DeMarco Murray. He passed DeMarco Murray for most touches. Remember that season when Murray was just like,
oh my God, spectacular.
Right? Murray everywhere. So now it's McCaffrey everywhere, which has always been the case for Christian McCaffrey anyway. Yeah. But Shanahan's he's so clever, the way he designs stuff for this guy, the way he finds him in different ways, utilizes them. And that wide receiver pass was phenomenal. I mean, the reverse, and then he, the guy, he's a running back for crying out loud, and yet he can make a catch like that good receivers would have a hard time making. I mean, heck, AJ Brown couldn't catch balls that were thrown right at him. This guy is making catches that, only top receivers in the league would make, and he adjusts his body and he somehow makes that catch. That was brilliant. And a really good win for the Niners. I don't know that they can run the table here with all of the problems that they have. They lost Kittle in this game to an Achilles. He's done. But man, they're fun to watch. He has done a phenomenal game. Shanahan has just done a phenomenal job with that team. Phenomenal job.
100%. And again, the crazy Christian McCaffrey catch was wild on that trick play you just mentioned. AJ Brown and the frustrations with the clear drops that are hitting him right in the hands. And then speaking of extracurricular activity here, what a punk, man. Like AJ Brown after the game avoids the media. I hate people who do that. Be accountable. Be a role model for your children. Be a role model for the rest of the world, man. You, AJ Brown, you have no problem on the Super Bowl and a cigar in your mouth saying, "Hey, baby, we won the Super Bowl." What's your question? Are we the greatest of all time? Yes. Like, you have no problem doing that. Then you should have no problem being accountable on the other end when it's tougher, when the tough questions are coming about your future, your body language on the sideline, you dropping the pass. Like, show some gosh darn accountability, man. I absolutely hate that. And it happened last night where AJ Brown dips out of the locker room, refuses to answer questions. And I don't even care for the media or the football players that say, I just didn't, I was emotional. I didn't want to say something I didn't want to say, so I wanted to get out of there. Tough cookies, man. You have to. Sometimes you are emotional and you have to, have like a filter in your head. Like, if you don't want to say something crazy, then make sure you filter it before it comes out of your mouth. Like, I just don't like when athletes dip the light of the media. They owe it to the fans, to be honest. They owe it to the team. They owe it to their teammates. Because if AJ Brown skips out, I mean, someone else inevitably is going to be in that locker room who's now going to be asked questions about his teammate AJ Brown skipping out and doing all these other things. I think that's incredibly selfish. So I absolutely hate that. So yeah, way to go, AJ Brown. He's inevitably. Let's just address this now, Lurch. The Eagles are trading AJ Brown to the New England Patriots this offseason. I'm not going to be happy about it because he gets reunited with his boy Mike Vrabel, and it's going to be for whatever package it's going to be for. It's going to be disgusting because I don't want to see MVP candidate Drake May throwing it to star receiver AJ Brown, who's supremely talented. I'm not questioning the talent. He's talented. He's a basket case, but he's talented. So that's definitely happening this offseason. So let's call that out on January 12th at 12:56. We all know that's happening at some point this offseason.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Sirianni actually, defended him at the podium, which is fascinating. He did. He threw rose petals at his feet. I was like, wow, that was interesting because the guy, that one drop over the middle was almost unforgivable. I mean, that was pathetic. And on the long pass, I mean, he just didn't even extend his arms. He had like alligator arms. It's like, reach out to catch that ball. You're supposed to be one of the best receivers in football. So for a guy that's made a lot of great catches over the years, that was a little fishy, to say the least. And then, of course, they had the argument on the sideline, which apparently, from what was being reported, was because him and another player didn't get off the field while the kicking team was getting out there. They were lollygagging off the field. So it wasn't anything to do with his drops, apparently, or anything else, or running the wrong route. It was, hey, get off the damn field. You're going to get us a penalty here. We're trying to kick a field goal, and you're lollygagging your way off the field. That was the trigger of this whole thing, which is crazy to think that that's what got these guys going at each other, because we were all watching the game going, man, what is wrong with AJ Brown? And I don't know, but I just saw Philadelphia as incredibly flawed, and the flaws were on full display. last night. They were just on full display. That offense can be at times inept. The defense is terrific, but you can't win every game on defense, especially when you play a really good offensive team like the 49ers. And the 49ers played enough defense to win that game. So kudos to them. I'm kind of glad Philly's out. I don't know.
You're not kind of. You're not kind of. Come on, you are very kind.
I was heavily rooting against Philly there, but that aside, I just saw a very flawed team. Like, this team's not going back to the Super Bowl. Come on. I mean, have you been watching them all year? I mean,
they just ride the razor's edge personality-wise. That locker room is volatile versus what it works. Hey, they won the Super Bowl last year. All the credit in the world to a great season, but it goes to show you get a little too close to that flame, you're gonna get burned, and they did. So now we're gonna crown a new champion.
And they don't even like. I criticized the Giants forever for not knowing how to use Barkley. They this year they don't know what they're doing with Saquon Barkley. The guy's great 1 minute, he's terrible the next. They don't utilize him the right way. Wow,
strange,
very strange. So okay, kudos to Frisco. The one game that I watched the least of, and I'm glad it was the one that I picked to watch the least of, Boy Green. I decided to give a little family time and kind of watched it from a distance. I caught the pivotal moments. Was New England and the Chargers. It's the only game, as it turns out, over this whole weekend that was decided by more than one score. 16-3 was the final. Man, but I saw the moments I needed to see, which was Justin Herbert getting battered by the pass rush. They could not figure out what Vrabel was doing in terms of his stunting and who he was sending on different plays. It was nothing but confusion. Not surprising considering what the LA Chargers offensive line looks like now compared to what it looked like at the beginning of this season. They are really a hodgepodge group. They lost the two best players, arguably, on that offensive line in the middle of the season, and have had to endure without it. And as much as Jim Harbaugh, I think did as much as he could do here, there was just no stopping the New England pass rush. So that was a disaster. Good grief.
To me, I think the telltale again, this came very early in the first half of the game, right? Jim Harbaugh, the brother of John Harbaugh, he decided to be ultra aggressive, and he went for two key fourth down plays that they could have either had a field goal on, or obviously they were attempting to score a touchdown. And they swung and missed on both of those. And then you see this game, this final is 16-3. You get both of those scoring opportunities, which could have both been touchdowns. Of course, you win, but that's not always a fair way to do it. But this game would have been as close as any of the other wildcard games. So he got aggressive and they missed, whether you want to call it bad play calling, bad execution. It's not like they had guys open on either of those plays. But yeah, this is one, again, I'm not a massive Patriots fan, obviously. But I wasn't surprised by the result. New England has just been a well put together team. They're playing at the lovely confines of Foxborough. The Chargers have both their tackles out. And Omarion Hampton, their first round pick running back, has just been beat up and hurt all season. So he was ineffective to be that consistent guy coming on. It felt like there was a level of pitch count that was happening there in the backfield. So they were just a modge podge of guys. I mean, Omarion ended up having the one carry for -1 yard. So they couldn't even use him. So they threatened like they were going to use him, but then they didn't. Justin Herbert, 10 carries, 57 yards. He got beat the hell up. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this result. Patriots move on, and now they'll play whoever the winner is tonight, either Houston or Pittsburgh. And I'm rooting for Houston because I think Houston could give New England problems.
I was just going to say, here's the thing about New England, right? So all season long, we talked about their really ridiculously ezy schedule.
Sure.
And you don't know how good everyone's going to be.
Of course.
We thought the Chiefs were going to be great. We thought, teams are going to be great that aren't great. So it's hard to predict what a schedule is going to be. But case in point, they had an incredibly easy schedule. And now out of the box, the first team they get into playoffs is they get the beleaguered Chargers, and they get them in their own building. And they earn that right. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm not going to be
no.
Enemy number one here of every Patriots fan out there. But come on, I mean, of all the teams, if they have gotten Buffalo or Jacksonville, they could, they would have been up against it. They would have had themselves a ball game, and they didn't have to have themselves a ball game against the Chargers. And if somehow, someway, Pittsburgh wins tonight, which I didn't pick them, but if Pittsburgh does win tonight, and that's a tough building to win in, I wouldn't put it past them to win.
Sure.
To me, they're going to get another easy game, and they're going to go all the way to the AFC Championship, not having played a difficult game, even in the playoffs.
Well,
an easy schedule.
The Patriots played the Steelers earlier this season and lost.
Yeah, I know, but I see that. No,
there's some weird turnovers. But
I'm wearing Steelers stuff today. The Steelers don't pass the eye test. They just, there's a lot.
So let me make sure.
A lot of things got to go their way for them to win.
Let me make sure I
You
understand
haven't
your
gone to the
take.
Super Bowl this year, Boy Green. You haven't
What?
gone to the Super Bowl. You haven't gone to the Super Bowl this year.
I do not.
No,
I do not.
neither
I
do
actually had the
Are
Texans
you
winning
even
in the
close
first
to
round.
having them go to the Super Bowl?
I do not. They have them
No.
being one and done. But
I
let me
think
make
we're in
sure I have.
agreement.
Let me make sure I have your take right.
Uh-huh.
So if the Steelers upset the Houston Texans tonight, or who's a favorite? Is it Houston?
Yeah,
Houston's a
Pittsburgh,
favorite.
3-point underdog. Yep. Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to make sure. So
Yep.
Steelers upset Texans tonight, which means guaranteed there's no they are whoever the winner of this game is tonight is going to New England and play the Patriots. We should just put in permanent marker the Patriots are in the AFC Championship game.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right.
Mark it down for me. Mark it down for me. It'll be the
Gross.
easiest pick I make next week.
Right.
I wouldn't even care about the spread. Whatever it is, I'm taking New
Really?
England.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe in the Steelers, beyond tonight. They could beat Houston tonight. That's a tough place to play.
Possibly.
They got a home game. Houston can be a little fluky sometimes. Their offense hasn't really pulled it all together. I think they have better pieces than they've shown. But Houston might just blow the doors off them tonight. It wouldn't shock me if it went that way either. This is one of those games where I could squint and see Pittsburgh win, and then I see another side of, Houston just, they just batter Rodgers. The offense is nothing. Stroud gets his game going early, and it's 3 scores before halftime, and we're not even ever looking back. So I don't know. Mike Tomlin, I never like to bet against that guy. He always gets his team ready, especially when they're underdog roll. So, but I did take Houston in our picks, and I'm giving 3 points on that one. But either result would not shock me tonight. I'm going to enjoy watching that game tonight. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to enjoy watching that game tonight. But no, if New England gets Pittsburgh, which they would get, they're going to get the winner of this game no matter what. So whichever team they get, I do think that Houston puts up a better fight, but I still think it's a relatively easy, it's still an easy path for New England. They've lucked out here in terms of their positioning in this playoff bracket in the AFC. I just think they're in a perfect position to get some easier games compared to the warfare that, say, the Bills are going to have to go through if they're going to get to this. I just think the Bills have a much tougher task. So we'll see.
Who gives New England the tougher matchup? If New England goes to the AFC Championship game, beats whoever the hell they're going to play tonight, Denver or Buffalo, who gives them the tougher game?
I like the Bills. Okay.
I
like the Bills to beat Denver, and I think the Bills would give them a tougher time. I think they know each other really well. I think New England really struggle to stop Josh Allen. And they have to have Allen. If Allen gets hurt, it's all over. I mean, Buffalo is
yes.
They're not a one-man team, but they're as close to a one-man team as you could be.
Yeah, sorry, Trubisky. But
I told you at the beginning of this, it's going to have to be Superman 3 times in a row if they want to go back to the Super Bowl. He's going to have to actually play great 3 games in a row. I just don't think they can find a way to get by. The only path is if the other team just coughed it up a few times or something. Just get crazy turnovers, or you get a kick return. Just,
right, anything can happen, I guess. That's why you play the game.
In a normal football world, in a normal football, prism, I think it has to be Allen, 3 games in a row. I think he's got to play really well 3 games in a row. The rest of the team has to do some things too, but he has to be Superman-esque like he was in this game for them to get back to the Super Bowl. Otherwise, they won't. It's just that simple. But, they believe he can. So, and I believe he can. Will he? We'll see. I mean, he might melt in that mile-high air. I don't know, I'm sure Sean Payton, who's had, 2 weeks to get ready for this thing, comes in with a rested squad, and you got Buffalo coming in banged up and on a day short rest, a little less planning, a long trip. I don't know what day they're traveling, but I would get out there as soon as possible because it does take time. Anybody that's ever traveled to altitude,
I've not,
like Denver, go to a place where there's altitude. There is an adjustment period. It's freaky. It's a little freaky. And the team that's always there and in that environment and, is used to it. I do think it's actually a very, very big advantage. I've always thought that about Denver from the perspective of not only in football, but in basketball too, where you're playing indoors, but it's still in altitude. Those Denver Nuggets are just a pain in the neck, man.
Yeah.
That building. It's that altitude. It's freaky. You just don't breathe the same way. You're huffing and puffing when you're like, what did I do? I only ran up and down the court twice. And obviously football is a very physical game that requires a lot of energy. So better to get out there early and get used to it. It's just like getting over there to Europe early for those Euro games, Paul.
Yeah, right.
Get over there and, and deal with that. Okay, so New England Chargers, we're done with that. And then preview Houston, Pittsburgh. What's your you heard my prism for the game tonight. What's your prism for the game tonight? Do you see 2 possible outcomes like I do, completely polar opposite, which seems nutty? Or do you see something else?
Yeah, I think there are two possibilities. The Texans, this is the one I think is going to happen. The Texans are going to run through the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their offense is Houston's is wildly inconsistent offensively. They show moments where you're like, wow.
Yeah,
which we saw in the Texans Chargers game at the end of the season, where the Texans just started bombing CJ Stroud, uncorking long balls for touchdowns, and then the defense is stifling and aggressive and violent. And that part of it, you're like, is spectacular for Houston. So the defense, I don't question. I think the defense is going to be on point. They're going to be great. It's just the offense with CJ Stroud, which CJ Stroud shows up. So I could see a world where the Texans run through Pittsburgh, and it's a 26-6 game where Pittsburgh barely can score, and Houston maybe even gets a pick six and dominates Aaron Rodgers. The other possibility is Aaron Rodgers, captain game manager, which is really what he's at this point, outside of a handful of moments here or there where you can see, there's Aaron Rodgers. There he is. There's that one throw. And then they win like a 25-23 last, even that many points seems hard. A 16-14 game.
Close game actually favor Pittsburgh, because I just think that Rodgers, if he only has to make a couple of clutch throws, I think he can do it.
Yeah,
if you have to throw all game long and consistently move the ball down the field, I think Houston will run away with the game. That's why I see the two outcomes kind of.
Right. I just don't see a possibility where Steelers blow out the Texans. That would shock me tonight. If outside of injuries, of course, right? CJ Stroud goes down and Davis Mills goes in. I'm like, oh boy, maybe something goes crazy. But like the Steelers blowing out the Texans, I just don't see. I could definitely see the Texans blowing out the Steelers. I could see the Steelers just edging out Houston, maybe, and then Aaron Rodgers goes to Foxborough for a trip to the AFC Championship game on the line and all kinds of extra drama. That's a world maybe I could see, which is crazy to think about.
Okay. You're on Houston with me, though, tonight, right?
I am absolutely on Houston. I feel very good about it.
We're hoping a little more the blowout, but I'd love to see a great game, and I probably will.
That's what I am sure.
I'll be rooting for the Steelers, but, rooting is one thing, and, mind and heart are two different things for me. I can separate mind and heart. So heart definitely with the Steelers, mind definitely with Houston. One of the best defenses all year long. What else before we get out of here today, Paul? That's a good wrap on the games. Again, to set you up for next weekend, folks, I'll mention this again. We don't have game times yet. The NFL will probably put them out probably by tonight or tomorrow after the game ends. Tonight, they'll probably make a decision. But the two Saturday games, we know it's two Saturday games, two Sunday games next weekend.
Correct.
And it's going to be San Francisco at Seattle and the Bills at the Browns. Bills at the Broncos.
Browns.
The Broncos. Those two on Saturday. Both of those are 6-1. Okay, we got the 1 against the 6. That's the way it worked out. All right, the 6 seed won on both sides, the AFC and the NFC. So we'll have 6 1s there, and we'll just decide time. Broncos are pretty far out. Seattle's even further out. If I were a guessing man, I would guess the Seattle game will be probably the 8:00 at night game, and they'll go Bills at 4:30, whatever.
That would be my guess.
The 4:38 kind of deal. That probably would be my guess. Maybe. They could flip it. I don't know why they would flip it. It makes more sense time zone wise. And then Sunday is going to be Rams at Bears. That's a 2-5 matchup.
Correct.
And then the Patriots against the winner of Pittsburgh.
4-5. Right.
Yes, 4-5. Yes, 4-5. I say 2-5 there.
No. You said 2-5 for Rams Bears, which is correct. I'm just saying whoever wins tonight will be a 4-5 facing the 2, which is New England. Correct. No, you said it correct.
Yeah, so again, all the 1s and the 2s are in. The 1s didn't have to play, but the 2 2s did play and won. So we haven't had upsets there, but we've had other minor upsets, I guess we'd say.
I'd say even more than that, right? 6 is beating 3s is a pretty sizable upset to me. So, even though whatever the official point spread said in terms of upsets, but in terms of seeding upsets. So, phenomenal.
Carolina got that because of winning the division.
Of course. Right. That's what I mean. So, it's not all full upsets, but still, we're set up for some great games. Again, we mentioned it at the beginning of the playoffs. One of these teams on the 7 side from NFC and one of these teams from the 7 side of the AFC is going to be in the Super Bowl, which is crazy. And now we're obviously getting more closer and closer to those realities of what those going to happen. We have one more game left in Super Wildcard Weekend, and every game has been close outside of Patriots Chargers. And again, it was close in its own way last night because of missed opportunities, but I don't have to squint. All the other ones have been spectacular. So let's hope for another spectacular game tonight. And if so, I think this could be one of the greatest wildcard weekends we've ever had, which is marvelous for the fans.
Yep. All right, I looked through the comments. I mean, I don't think there's anything we haven't hit on that's in the comments. So just thank everybody for following along and making your comments, agree, disagree, or otherwise. Always appreciate you offering up your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You see it right there, youtube.com/@MC Show Digital, as we continue to grow our community. Again, we've only been out there about 6 months in the YouTube world, but we have a rich history here in Central New York on the radio of over 23 years of radio programming. And our next prize pack, Boy Green, you got the video, Bob?
I will. I'll play the video in just a second. I just want to give a quick highlight to our winner that already happened, and then we can turn the page forward. Shout out to Dylan Terraman. He joined us at the beginning of the show. A nice little surprise appearance. DT, he's a fellow Jets content creator, and he was randomly drawn right before the show, and he's winning this 1972 official New York Jets yearbook cover. I'll either send this out today or tomorrow, depending on however timing is going to work here. So Joe Namath and John Riggins, Hall of Famers on the cover. So he won this. Again, free giveaways. Yeah, I can't believe that. That's insane. Awesome. I don't know how much it's worth now. That's up to beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. But cool. So we already have that one given away. I'll just be mailing that out this week. And here is the next one. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Our next giveaway is going to be right out of the Manchild's collection. These bobbleheads from the Anchorman, a collection of 4. Check it out. We've got Veronica Corningstone right here. Very cool. Brick Tamlin, the weather guy, the zany weather guy played by Steve Carell. Check out, yes, Brian Fantana with the Sex Panther in his hand. Very, very cool. And then lastly, the sports nut Champ Kind. This collection of bobbleheads going out the door once we get to 475 subscribers. Subscribe now. It's absolutely free.
Free, as mentioned there. And, you subscribe and you got a chance to win that. We'll continue doing giveaways for every increment of 25 subscribers that we add. That's been our trend. We've got a beautiful brand new $400 valued golf club going out the door when we get to 500. That's a big landmark number for us. But let's get to 475 first. And if we do that sooner rather than later by subscribing right there to youtube.com/@MC Show Digital, that bobblehead, those bobbleheads will be, I got nice little bubble wrapped things, little individual bubble wraps for them.
Okay.
And they're stored very, very nicely. Like I said, I used to have them out in my office, and since I've been working back here from home now at the home studio, there's no place for them. So let someone else find a place for them.
Hey, you'll enjoy them. I love the Anchorman movie.
Collection. Very awesome collection. I'm going to miss them. But they're going out the door. I have no doubt we're going to get to 475 sooner rather than later. Again, one last shout out to everybody in the room right now or who joined us, everybody who offered anything and everything up in the comments. We do appreciate it. And we got a busy week. You want to set up the week, Boy Green? We got all kinds of great this week as usual.
Right. I believe, and I'll leave the name off this person, but I believe I was locking it in right before our show started. We're going to have a WFAN host to talk Giants this week. She is terrific. So I believe I'm going to either have locked her in or I'm about to. I'll double check after we get off the show here to talk Giants. So we'll be mixing it up every week. You guys have been used to Ed Valentine, who's been great. We'll have him at tentpole events throughout the offseason. We'll mix in some other Giant personalities. We'll have Jake Asman this week talking all things New York Jets. The Jets continued their DC search. Also, by the time we speak to Jake, let me get my days right here. Oh, well, we'll have to wait. There's no way we can have Jake until we have the decision in. Is Dante Moore, whether he declares for the draft or not. There's been some rumblings of why you would think he isn't. And then there's a rumbling breaking this morning of why you think he is going to enter the draft. So it's going all over the place, which obviously will affect the Jets draft. So we'll have Jake Asman on.
Listen, and I never know what a young man is going to do. Yeah. Okay. These are young people that have a lot of people pulling at them.
Sure.
He's nuts if he doesn't come out.
Well, I've been dancing around it, so let's just address the obvious here. So I'll address the nuggets that were last night. So what's today? Monday. So Sunday night, a flurry of high-profile Oregon players that could have entered the draft decided to go back. And I was speaking with a couple of draft analysts, which ended up doing my mega draft show earlier this morning. They told me that is a sign, according to them, that Dante Moore was returning. Run it back and go win a national championship. I said, I respect your guys' opinions. You guys are experts. Then this morning, after that show was over and we were getting ready for this show, Dylan Raiola, the Patrick Mahomes lookalike kid, he committed to Oregon. People say that's a sign that Dante Moore's entering because Raiola wouldn't come to Oregon to sit and get sizable NIL money. Others have said he will sit, and that's what Dante Moore is. So there's all kinds of signs that indicate he will or won't. But again, here is the facts, Jack. If Dante Moore is a number 2 overall pick to the Jets, he gets $50 million guaranteed. I mean,
you can't.
I
know
don't
NIL is going to probably get him, $4 or $5 million the way today's world goes.
Yeah, with sponsorships and everything, maybe. Yeah, right.
You're going to risk health.
Yep.
You get hurt and then be done. Never be drafted. Right. You could not perform as well as you
fall in the draft because of performance, right? Of course.
And your draft stock can plummet, and suddenly you're a 2nd or a 3rd round pick, where that number is nowhere near the number that you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
This guy is going to be a top 5 pick guaranteed. He's probably going to be the number 2 pick. Okay.
Right. At worst, top 5.
He is, in my opinion, a little bit of a project. I don't think he's like a long-term project, but I think he's a patience guy. If he's going to succeed, he needs a team that's willing to have a little patience. And so if he does end up seemingly on the Jets, where they sit at number 2, if indeed they're going to go quarterback with that pick, Jets got to have patience. They better go get somebody else to fill the void and to learn, let this guy learn from, and just let him get his feet underneath him. You rush this guy in and you could ruin him. So I think that's an issue. It feels to me, we'll see, once exposed to an NFL level offense, but it feels to me like the Indiana kid might be more ready, to just go.
Yes, I would agree with that sentiment.
But I think Moore is a little bit more of a project. That doesn't mean he's not going to be great, though. Doesn't mean he's not going to be great. And I don't know, other people like Carson Beck, all these others that are being mentioned. I know
no way.
Pavia. All right. I want to see them all, moving forward here. As they really get vetted by these scouting departments. Hopefully some of them actually do something at the combine, because that's become the narrative now. These guys don't even throw. You're like, come on. Can you at least throw at the combine? Can we see what you can do in, gym shorts and a t-shirt? But to me, there are clearly 2 guys in this draft that are going to go near the top, and it's those 2 guys. And so the question is, do you think one of those 2 is your guy? Maybe if you're the Jets, you don't. And if you don't believe in Dante Moore, or you don't want a guy that's going to take a few years probably to develop, then you go a different direction. You can always trade the pick and get more assets.
Sure.
More assets.
Someone else. Let's just be honest.
So many options.
If the Jets aren't in, so let's say Dante Moore enters the draft. I would assume he will, but who knows? We don't have any sourcing on that. Let's assume he enters the draft. If the Jets don't want him, guess what? Someone else is going to want him. He's just too damn talented. So the Jets are going to have trade down scenarios if they want to do it. Yes.
And also, the Jets, the Jets could do something similar to what the Giants did last year, which is use the pick for something, a deep need or something. I don't know what that is. You told me they have a million needs. All right. So go get a top-notch whatever. Okay. And then maybe go for a guy like Chambliss, who looks like he's going to have to now enter the draft unless this, they're appealing his appeal or something. But, he'll be, he's an interesting guy to me. And could he be like a Jackson Dart type where you get him later and, he turns out to be a really good player and you didn't have to expend a pick way at the top of the draft. You're able to, again, enhance your roster with other positional players. So the Jets will have a ton of options. They'll be pressured, certainly, to pick a quarterback in that 2 spot, because that's what teams do these days. If you have the 2 spot and you don't have a franchise, you pick a guy to be your franchise. But if you don't think that Moore is going to be a franchise, then you don't pick him at number 2. You do something else and you pick a guy more along the lines of where that guy should be picked in hopes that guy develops into your franchise. And if it doesn't, even if it doesn't work, you haven't expended what you would expend at number 2. Because we've talked about this for years, Paul. If you invest at that high a level in the draft, you're tied to that guy now for the next 3 to 5 years. You're just not, you're going to try everything before you give up. And that could be 5 years or 4 years of complete and utter disaster, like no progress, So you got to be careful. You can't, if you're going to pick one that high, you got to be sure. Otherwise, don't.
Yeah, of course.
Strategy. Trade the pick. Get another. They could have 7 picks in the top. Whatever. Get a couple of number 1s next year for some quarterback needy teams, and maybe Arch Manning turns into the Arch Manning we all think he can be, and he's your guy, and you get him next year. What Jet fan wouldn't wait for that? If Arch Manning was the next Manning, okay, if he turned into that, okay, and you could get him next year, would you trade a year of mediocrity or worse for a surefire thing theoretically?
Probably.
Next year, yes, you do it in a minute. We'd all do it in a minute, especially with everything you've been through. So you do it in a minute. So they might, maybe their play is to swing later with all these other picks that they have. They don't have to trade up. They have another pick in the first round. That's not a bad pick. They do
16.
2 picks in the second round that they could use as ammunition.
They do.
Ooh, that guy's still available. We can get him right now. Let's go get him. That's what the Giants did with Dart last year, and it worked. I think it worked. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to work. When you don't have to expend a top 5 pick to get your franchise quarterback and you get him, everybody thinks you're a winner.
100%.
Okay, I'm all talked out, as they say. Man.
Yeah.
I know you
what a show.
A long show this morning, too, so I know you must need a rest. Okay, well, we'll be back again live on Wednesday. Dalton Wasserman will be back in the house with us again, talking all things NFL. We'll set you up for the whole playoff weekend. The schedule will be out by then. Everybody, of course, enjoy tonight's game. Should be a fun game. We'll see if it's a blowout or not. Pittsburgh and Houston in the Steel City. Boy Green, final thoughts, if you have any, before we get out of here.
Yeah, it's just, again, thank the fans as we just hit another milestone. We're giving something away. It just it gets me reflective over these last 6 months and this journey with Lurch. I can't believe it's been 6 months, to be honest. I just remember, it feels like yesterday I was in that radio studio. We're doing our farewell week. So
we're going to do this?
Yeah, right. And then 6 months later, we're now all the way in, which is crazy. So shout out to the fans. Thank you for the growing community that's all out there. So that's excellent and great wildcard weekend. We've had some great topics to talk about. And again, we have a very busy offseason. Even though the season will inevitably come to an end here over the next month with Super Bowl and divisional conference. And I'm not trying to fast forward through any of that. Yeah. Draft, free agency. We're just going to have so much content that's going to be coming out here on the channel. So, this is just the beginning.
Yep, it is. All right, as I say, we've only just begun, right? Chubbs.
Yeah,
Chubbs,
beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, that's very nice.
On you. All right, folks, we'll see you on Wednesday, plus our old bevy of interviews coming out. We will talk Giants Insider, Jets Insider. Prohaska will be with us again on Thursday. Bud Poliquin to talk all things, anything, we'll have available to you tomorrow as well. So we still have our usual busy week, but we will see you all live on Wednesday. Everybody take care. Thanks for watching.